The world of Half-Life is one of many mysteries and theories. I believe everyone should be familiar with the concept of icebergs. I'll still give you a very short explanation. Icebergs are graphics created by users to demonstrate the different layers of levels of a particular topic. The deeper you go, the less known and more mysterious it is. For my video, I picked out this mega iceberg, the absolute longest I could find. I have removed quite a few uninteresting points and also added some that I thought were desperately missing. This video requires knowledge of all the Half-Life games except Half-Life Alyx. Whenever I get into Half-Life Alyx spoiler territory, I will warn you beforehand. So without further ado, let's get right into the Half-Life iceberg. Oh wait, what's that? Right there on top of the iceberg. Is that the sponsor of this video? This video is sponsored by Enlisted. Enlisted is a free-to-play World War II multiplayer shooter that has strong focus on historical authenticity while still keeping gameplay dynamic and players in the middle of action. The game features large-scale combat with dozens of soldiers, light vehicles, armored vehicles and planes. It also features campaigns where you can go to battle in distinct historical events such as the Battle for Moscow or Invasion of Normandy, with several more campaigns already being worked on. Each campaign includes unique maps, troop types, weapons, vehicles and more for players to unlock. I personally really love the real-time destruction Enlisted features in its maps. A ton of stuff around the map can be destroyed, including things like barricades, which can end up affecting how the match plays out. Enlisted is available on PC, PlayStation and Xbox with cross-platform support. By using my link, you'll receive an exclusive bonus that consists of 3 days premium time and several orders for troops and weapons. So what are you waiting for? Go and download Enlisted for free using my link and get yourself the exclusive free bonus. Level 1. The Sky. This level will include some basic knowledge about the game and some surface level theories. Gordon Freeman. Gordon Freeman needs no introduction. He's the hero of Half-Life, the protagonist of Half-Life 1, 2, Episode 1 and Episode 2. He's also briefly seen in Opposing Force and Blue Shift. We really don't know a lot about him, other than that he's a theoretical physicist. It seems that Valve purposefully kept the character of Gordon Freeman mute, so that players can interpret Gordon Freeman to be whoever they like. Crowbar. Where there's a Freeman, there's a crowbar. The crowbar has become a legendary weapon in gaming, and whenever you find a crowbar in any game today, it will most likely include some kind of Gordon Freeman reference. Valve Software. Valve is the company that created Half-Life. They also created many other games, be it Counter-Strike, Left 4 Dead, Day of Defeat or Portal. They also created Steam, of course. Valve should be a household name for any gamer out there, known for their incredibly great catalog of games. Gabe Newell, which is a household name to any gamer, is the CEO of the company. Sierra Entertainment. Sierra used to be the publisher for Valve. They helped publish all Valve games from 1998 to 2004. They also offered Valve a Congratulations for Raising the Bar on Action Games award in form of a golden crowbar, which is still showcased in the Valve headquarters. Sierra went defunct in 2008. Gearbox Software. Gearbox Software majorly contributed to 3 games in the Half-Life series: Opposing Force, Blue Shift and Decay. These expansions were contracted to Gearbox by Valve. They later went on to create the Brothers in Arms and Borderlands series. Screaming Scientist. This entry is referring to how the scientists in Half-Life 1 like to scream a bunch, which has become a meme of its own. The G-Man. The G-Man, although he's known to everyone that plays Half-Life, should realistically be way lower in this list. There's a lot of theories involving him later down the iceberg, so I'll save most of my comments about him. He seems to have some kind of stake in the events of Half-Life, and also holds quite a bunch of power in the universe. His true intentions remain unknown. Breen is the puppet leader of Earth. This is just a lore fact basically. After Breen surrendered Earth, he became the Combine's spokesperson. He isn't a politician. He used to be the administrator in Black Mesa. Him being a puppet leader referring to him not actually having any power or say. He just repeats whatever the Combine tell him to say. 7-Hour War. The 7-Hour War is a very important event in the Half-Life timeline that we know very little about. We know that it happened sometime after Half-Life 1 and sometime before Half-Life Alyx. In this war, the Combine invaded Earth and managed to defeat all its militaries before Breen had surrendered Earth after a total of only 7 hours. We don't know a lot about what this war may have looked like besides a few newspaper images. Expansion packs. Expansion packs referring to Half-Life Opposing Force, Blue Shift and Decay. These games tell the events of Half-Life 1 from a different perspective. Despite them being contracted by Valve and released by Sierra, these were never confirmed canon to the story. This is partly due to all of them changing one thing or another about the Half-Life lore. Blue Shift being the least invasive one. The name of the protagonist of this game, Barney Calhoun, ended up becoming the name for the character of Barney in Half-Life 2, Resistance. The Resistance is everyone that is in one way or another working to stop the Combine Empire. This is everyone from the rebels we meet to scientists like Dr. Kleiner. The Resistance has, against all odds, been winning quite a bunch against the Combine. Take the Uprising ending in the Citadel's destruction or the closing of the Super Portal. The fight is not fully won though at the point Half-Life is currently at the ending of Episode 2. Ravenholm. Ravenholm is one of the chapters of Half-Life 2 and tells a pretty dark story. Ravenholm is a small mining town set near the coast. Once the Combine invasion began, it started being occupied by refugees who were escaping from the Combine-controlled City 17. The Combine started shelling the place using headcrabbed canisters, thus leaving the town for dead and filled with tons of zombies. Suppression Field. The Suppression Field was installed by the Combine Army after their takeover of Earth. It stops certain protein chains needed for embryonic development from forming, thus stopping people from having children, causing the human birth rate to drop down to 0. Hidden camera in Prospect. I'm not 100% sure on this one, but I think this is referring to the fact that on one of the security cameras in Nova Prospect, you can see the G-Man for a brief moment, but from the way it's worded, it seems like it's referring to something from the fan game Prospect. Let me know if you have more info on this. Haunted Playground. Haunted Playground refers to how you're able to hear children playing when stepping on the playground in the intro of Half-Life 2. Is this really a haunted playground? Not really. It more seems like Gordon Freeman remembering how it once was. But I mean, who knows really? Combine cannot teleport locally. The Combine not being able to teleport locally is a huge, if not the main plot point in Half-Life. Teleportation is a theme throughout all the games, and the Combine are very much interested in it. Once the Combine teleport into a dimension, in this case our universe and more specifically Earth, they are stuck. Even after they most likely destroyed and plundered hundreds or even thousands of universes, they are still unable to do local teleportation. But this really isn't entirely true. The Combine did manage to create one singular local teleporter, which we see in Nova Prospect. It takes a very long while to charge and is not able to teleport a large amount of people. I couldn't see more than 4 people fitting into this teleporter. It does end up getting destroyed, but there is a chance that the Combine still know how to teleport locally, at least somewhat now. Gnome. The Gnome is found at the beginning of episode 2. You get an achievement for carrying it all the way to the end of the game, which is an incredibly annoying experience. It also ended up becoming somewhat of a mascot for Valve. We later got to see them Left 4 Dead 2 and Half-Life Alyx. Some of you may remember unlocking a random achievement for Half-Life 2 Episode 2 at one point, Gnome Alone. This achievement was unlocked once Gabe Newell managed to shoot a real-life version of the gnome into space, the full name being Noam Chomsky, a reference to Noam Chomsky. Why exactly they wanted to reference him is unclear, perhaps just because gnome and gnome sound alike. Lambda Locator. Lambda Locator is the achievement you unlock for finding all the Lambda cages in Half-Life 2, which are supplies hidden by rebels around City 17 and its outskirts. These are marked by a lambda symbol, a pretty hard achievement, and it also leaves to question who hid these around the Half-Life world. Raising the Bar. Raising the Bar refers to a book written by David Hutchison, which takes a behind-the-scenes look at how Half-Life, Team Fortress Classic, Day of Defeat, Counter-Strike, Counter-Strike Source, and Half-Life 2 got made. It includes a lot of notes about game design and a lot of cut content that we only know about thanks to this book. It's a really great book, but it's pretty hard to come by these days. You can still find it on Amazon for pretty high prices. The Final Hours of Half-Life Alyx. The Final Hours of Half-Life Alyx is a book in the form of a game that documents the development of Half-Life Alyx. Among other things, we learned through this that at one point the Cremator was planned to appear in Half-Life Alyx. It also documents some cancer projects in the decade leading up to the release of Half-Life Alyx. It's a really cool game and is regularly on sale for less than $2, so I recommend picking it up and checking it out. Valve News Network. Valve News Network refers to the old name of the Tyler McVicker channel. Tyler McVicker is a gaming news channel. He used to almost exclusively report on Valve News. I have been watching him ever since I was like 12 years old. Love you, Tyler. Roach AI. The cockroaches in Half-Life 1 have a pretty detailed AI. They, for example, dynamically react to light. They also come out of hiding to eat pieces of flesh dropped by unalived people. They also run in fear when large creatures approach. Goes to show how incredibly detailed the world of Half-Life 1 is. Headcrabs. Headcrabs might be the most iconic enemy in all of gaming. They first debuted in Half-Life 1 and new types of them were introduced as late as the release of Half-Life Alyx. The headcrab latches onto people's heads and takes over their motor functions through an unknown biological process, keeping the host alive but helpless. There are also many different variants. There is the classic headcrab, seen in all Half-Life games to date. There is the Gonar, a boss headcrab and also seemingly the mother of all headcrabs. They spawn small baby headcrabs, which would presumably grow up to classic headcrabs. The fast headcrab and poison headcrabs were introduced in Half-Life 2. Their names make it obvious what makes them special. They also transform the host they take over into different types of zombies. There is the fast zombie, which is able to jump great leaps and run a lot faster. And there is the poison zombie, which has a ton of poison headcrabs on its back and throws them at the player. Minor Half-Life Alyx spoiler incoming. In Half-Life Alyx, we get both the armored headcrab and the reviver. The armored headcrab is self-explanatory. It needs a shot into the underside to die. The reviver seems the most unique of all headcrabs. It shoots electrical bolts and is incredibly fast and agile. It's also able to revive dead bodies using electricity, turning them into revived zombies. These are able to use electricity for special attacks. Reverse zombie screaming. If one is to reverse the sounds that zombies make when they scream, they'll hear this. God, help me! This further implies that the hosts are somehow alive. Pretty creepy to think about. Why are many of the Zen creatures missing in Half-Life 2? In Half-Life 2, only the headcrab, leeches, barnacles and vortigaunts return. There is no actual answer as to why so many Zen creatures are missing in Half-Life 2. We have learned through both leaks and concept art that there were plans for more Zen creatures to return in Half-Life 2. Why this was cancelled is unknown. For a potential lore explanation, it could be assumed that the Combine did their best at eradicating most creatures. For gameplay reasons, it's most likely that Valve wanted to keep a smaller enemy pool to simplify things. Vent races. According to Alyx in Half-Life 2 Episode 1, Eli tells stories of how Gordon and Barney used to race through the vents when Kleiner locked himself out of his office. This is just a small offhand comment to add a bit of world building. A fun one at that though. Laszlo Killtrigger. Laszlo is the character that gets killed at the start of Sand Traps, the greatest mind of our generation. Most of you probably tried saving him by reloading your save and killing all the antlions, but sadly, this is to no avail, as Laszlo is a kill trigger that force kills him no matter what you do. Imagine the great things Laszlo could have achieved were he to survive this ordeal. Stalkers. Stalkers live through what is most likely the worst fate in the Half-Life universe. They are the remains of what used to be humans, transformed by the Combine in gruesome practices into beings that solely exist to work, specifically to do mindless tasks at computers. Humans get transformed into stalkers in Nova Prospect, which is why it's so crucial that Barney saved us from that train at the beginning of the game. While I'll save you all the exact details about them, just know that they are a whole of a human being with no free will left in them. They are seen in Half-Life 2 and Episode 1. In Half-Life 2 they are only seen from afar, while in Episode 1 they function as hindrances with the player being able to kill them. This isn't mandatory though, and you'll receive an achievement if you manage to kill none of them. The question being if you're doing them a favor and keeping them alive. Counseling Couple. The Counseling Couple, which you first meet in the beginning levels of Half-Life 2. Throughout the games you will see it a bunch of more times. The first time they may be seen again is this couple that is getting beaten up by Metro cops. They use the same models, and as the guy on the ground is still moving, it can be presumed he survived. This one is less noticeable though, due to them not being in their usual sitting position. Later in Anti-Citizen 1, they appear once again in an apartment. They are now wearing rebel clothing. In Half-Life 2 Episode 1, they can be seen once we enter this building where we meet Barney. In Episode 2, we find 2 dead skeletons on a couch in a similar pose. This is probably only an Easter egg though, since they can be seen another time in White Forest. This is thus far the last time we have seen them. Freeman's Mind. Freeman's Mind is a very popular series on YouTube in which Ross Scott, known on YouTube as Accursed Farms, plays through Half-Life by giving his interpretation on what Gordon Freeman's thoughts would be. This series started with Half-Life 1 over 10 years ago and is still currently happening. The newest episode released in October this year and he's currently in the middle of Ravenholm. The series features both the humorous commentary of Ross Scott and also some cleverly placed map edits to actually alter Gordon Freeman's adventure a tiny bit. It's a very great series you should definitely consider checking out. Civil Protection. Also known as Metrocorps, the Civil Protection units are basically the police in the world of Half-Life 2. They are the least transformed Combine units. Barney, for example, still being a completely normal human under the mask and suit. They come equipped with either a stun stick, pistol or SMG. They are also the weakest of the Combine units, either patrolling the city or outskirts or being sent in as a last resort. Vortessence. The Vortigons believe in a binding life force which they call the Vortessence. While we don't fully know what it is, the Vortigons describe it as a fabric of the universe which connects everything living. When Alex gets hit in Episode 2, the Vortigons remark that they may have healed her wounds, but it was Gordon who retrieved her Vortessence. Slight Half-Life Alyx spoilers? In one of the early chapters of Half-Life Alyx we meet Gary, a brain-damaged Vortigon. The Combine drilled into his brain to forcefully sever his connection from the Vortessence. While it's unknown if they achieved this, the procedure did break his telepathic communication with other Vortigons and his perception of time, which leaves him unable to distinguish which events have already occurred and what is still yet to happen. The Singing Vortigons. After you fight the Hunter Chopper, you will see these 2 grates, one of them being slightly open. This might just look like a decorative addition to the level. However, by parking your airboat right here and climbing on it, you are able to get inside of it. What follows is a lot of radioactive sludge. You will lose quite a bunch of health going through it. You will find a hole in the canal to your left, which is where you will find the Singing Vortigon. He's just sitting here in a cave, eating headcrabs and singing a bit. By interacting with him, he will actually speak many cryptic statements pertaining to the Black Mesa incident, Zen, the G-Man and the Nihilant.
We bear witness to the bright eternity of the Nihilant's demise. You leap, you fall, we see you flash between the barriers.
Nihilant. The Nihilant is one of the most powerful creatures we meet in Half-Life. While the Resonance Cascade was the main event that caused the dimensions of Zen and Ours to collide, scientists suspect that the immense portal to the border world is held open by the concentration of a single powerful being, most likely referring to the Nihilant. In Half-Life Decay, it's further added by Dr. Keller that he thinks that something is interfering from the other side of the rift and that whatever is doing that is doing so with intent. That not all aliens are here by accident. This might refer to the Nihilant. Furthermore, in a bonus chapter of Decay you play as 2 Vortigons sent in by the Nihilant. Something we'll get to later on the Iceberg. The Nihilant's backstory is that he fled to Zen from his original world after it was invaded by the Combine. It's further added that the alien grunts and Vortigons come from the same world as the Nihilant. It's also assumed that there used to be multiple Nihilant and that the one we meet in Half-Life 1 is the only survivor. Nobody in Zen is native. This theory starts at the fact that the Nihilant, Vortigons and alien grunts are non-native to Zen. It could be that all creatures in Zen are non-native. This was confirmed in an email of Mark Laidlaw, one of the main writers of the Half-Life series, in an unconfirmed email, in which he in an offhand comment adds that nothing's native to Zen. Now it is important to note that the CombineOverwiki goes a long distance to sort and verify emails of Mark Laidlaw into confirmed and non-confirmed list. This email is thus far unconfirmed, but if this turns out to be true, Everything in Zen comes from somewhere else and moved there, willingly or unwillingly. Beta leak. We obviously know quite a lot about the Half-Life 2 beta. Most of this comes from one giant leak back in 2003. Mostly just referred to as the Half-Life 2 leak. This leak involved a young German programmer called Axel Gembe hacking into Valve's networks because he wanted to find out about the sequel to his favorite game Half-Life. He didn't expect to get anywhere, but managed to get into the servers on his first attempt. He went unnoticed and ended up downloading and releasing the full source code of the game. The story of how Axel Gembe was caught is a funny one. Gabe Newell worked with the FBI and invited Gembe to a fake job interview. He was to be arrested at the airport as soon as he arrived. However, the German police was already waiting outside of his home and proceeded to raid it. He was sentenced only 3 years afterwards to 3 years of probation. Today he's still enjoying the Half-Life fandom and is actually pretty active on Reddit still. I'm not gonna show you his username as to somewhat save his inbox. Cheapo. Due to Half-Life 2 releasing in a time where people didn't really have that high end of PCs, they had to save resources where they could. One way to do this was to create low-poly versions of high-poly models for when they were to be seen from a distance. They also did this with humans, for which they designed the Cheaple model. His face is based on Warren Slow, brother of Vanessa Slow, who is Ted Beckman's wife. Ted Beckman being an artist at Valve. The name Cheaple is most likely made up of the words cheap and people. Cheap in-game referring to cheap to render, not causing much of a strain on the system. This citizen was only used 2 times, once for one of the screens at Kleiner's lab and once in Black Mesa East, where his back is turned towards the player. Also a sad detail is that the face for him, Warren Slow, passed away in 2006. Rest in peace, Warren Slow, you will forever be remembered. Half-Life Alyx Globe. At the beginning of Half-Life Alyx you can find a globe with some noteworthy markings on it. There is a giant X on North America, alongside some arrows that point at Eastern Europe, which is where Half-Life 2 and Half-Life Alyx take place. The arrows most likely referring to the fact that most characters we know from Half-Life 2 fled to where they are now from North America. There are also question marks on Greenland, Africa, Asia and Australia. What the X on North America truly means is not something that we know. But there is a theory about it later down the iceberg. Off-world relocation. The Overwatch voice, otherwise just referred to as Overwatch, is a system used to communicate with citizens and combine soldiers of all kinds stationed across the city. They give out codes, commands and sometimes threats. One of these threats is this one.
Citizen notice. Failure to cooperate will result in permanent off-world relocation.
It's unknown what this means exactly. There is another similar quote that is announced as a punishment for the combine soldiers if they are to fail.
Permanent off-world service assignment.
It's unknown what this means exactly, but it sounds absolutely terrifying. City 17 is in Sofia, Bulgaria. A ton of buildings seen in Half-Life 2 can be found in this exact city. Some reference images Valve took are confirmed to be from there. There is a great Reddit thread that has found a ton of comparison images between Half-Life Alyx and the real-life city of Sofia. I'll link it in the description. Ninefeld. Ninefeld is a Half-Life channel best known for their timeline videos, in which they show a map and show what events are transpiring in the Half-Life universe and detail them. It is to note that while based on facts, they are mostly just fanfictions and interpretations. These are not to be seen as canon. They are really great and interesting videos though. Newspapers. Across all the Half-Life games we get to see quite a bunch of newspapers. We learned some interesting info on some of them. In Eli's lab we see a few details about the 7-hour war. In Half-Life Alyx we can read interviews with Dr. Breen and headlines about what truly happened in Black Mesa. Sounds like a video title of mine. Distorted Trumpets. Distorted Trumpets refers to a song found in Half-Life 2. It's only ever used once in Half-Life 2 in an Easter egg you can find, in which you see the G-Man standing on a boat for a short second. The Easter egg being way too goofy for the creepy sounding soundtrack it plays. In Half-Life Alyx you can tune a radio at the very beginning and find a channel playing the song as well. Half-Life VR, but the AI is self-aware. This entry is referring to a funny series made by Wayne Radio TV in which he plays through Half-Life 1 in VR alongside self-aware AI. Now I hate to ruin the mystery for you, but they are not really self-aware AIs. It's his friends he's playing alongside of. Some of them just so happen to sound very similar to the scientists of Half-Life.
You know, there's some logic there. That is a more acceptable...
Look, Gordon, a rope. We could use... Help me, Gordon!
The series basically tells a whole different story that is layered on top of the one of Half-Life 1. It's a pretty funny series, I recommend everyone to check it out. Black Mesa was killing people by the hundreds. This isn't known really, but can be assumed. It's also a direct quote of Ross Scott at Freeman's mind.
This is why security was so tight at Black Mesa. We were killing people by the hundreds. The best part is there have been no evidence at all. None.
It can be assumed that at least some people died while working at Black Mesa, given that we find dead HEV suit wearing people in Zen. But this is not confirmed and most likely simply a reference to that one Freeman's Mind quote. Mystery Woman in Half-Life Alyx. A big spoiler for Half-Life Alyx. Simply skip to level 2 as this is the last entry for level 1. About 2/3 into Half-Life Alyx we can hear and see the shadow of a mysterious woman. It's unknown who this is, but she seems to be somewhat in charge, specifically in charge of the vault. The model used to cast the shadow has no textures. She's referred to as scientist in the credits, contractor in her dialogue lines, and shadow lady in her animations. The beta of Half-Life Alyx includes a character called Han, which looks pretty similar to her. This is a guess of what she could look like. She looks similar to the administrator of TF2 and Elena Mossman of the Half-Life 2 beta, an early version of Judith Mossman. Eric Wolper, one of the writers of Half-Life Alyx, has said that they already have future plans for the scientists and are currently unwilling to disclose any further information about her, which sounds exciting. Level 2, tip of the iceberg. We're now starting to get deeper, but most of this is still common knowledge, but we're still way up in the iceberg. Announcement system. Announcement system is most likely referring to the one seen in Black Mesa of Half-Life 1. It's used to announce stuff through speakers. The voice was achieved using a vocoder, not an actual voice actor. There is one Easter egg that might hint towards this announcement system being a bit more than just that. If you are to interact with this door in the training course of Half-Life 1, it will continue to tell you that you have no access in many different ways. There's way too many to show you here, but have these two examples.
You will not get in. Entry is not an option.
Seagull's poop on Scout Car. Just as the Roach AI proves how incredibly detailed the world of Half-Life 1 is, the same gets proven in Half-Life 2 by Seagull AI. If you leave your Scout Car standing out too long in the coast chapters, seagulls will land on it. If you leave them there for long enough, poop will accumulate on the car. Some really great fun detail that nobody would have missed were it never introduced, but adds so much to the world of Half-Life. Epistle 3. Epistle 3 is a fanfiction written by Mark Laidlaw, who was no longer working at Valve at the time this was released. It seems to be his vision for how a sequel to Half-Life 2 Episode 2 could have looked like. It most likely was planned to look like at least at one point. I have a full detailed video on this story, as it is way too long to repeat here. It's a beautiful story that I would hate to butcher down to a one-sentence summary, but I will do so anyway. I advise you to watch my video as well though. Gordon and Alex infiltrate the Borealis, kill Mossman and use the Borealis as a time-traveling supercharged missile to fire at the common world to basically no avail. The end. Green Grub. The Breen Grub is a plot point of Epistle 3. Breen, in an attempt to live forever, got his mind down and uploaded by the common at a point a little earlier than the ending of Half-Life 2. It got uploaded into a slug of sorts, known as the Breen Grub. Although it has not yet been seen in a canon Half-Life title, it's widely assumed canon by people. There is also the Breen Grub Twitter account, an account that was active in 2012 and 2014. It was potentially meant to be a sort of ARG meant to set up Episode 3. Eventually, Mark Laidlaw admitted to being the one behind the account, confirming that it was only him writing fanfiction surrounding Dr. Breen for fun. 7-Minute War. The 7-Minute War is not something that happened, but it is mentioned as a future possibility by Eli at the beginning of Episode 2. The super portal was found out to be the Combine's attempt at re-establishing connection to the Combine overworld and to transport reinforcements to Earth. Eli mentions that if the super portal is not closed, that there will be another 7-hour war, this time only lasting 7 minutes. Thankfully, the Resistance does manage to close it at the end of Episode 2. Combine used the Portal Storm to invade Earth. After Half-Life 1, Portal Storms plagued the planet. While very little is known about this time, it's assumed that these Portal Storms teleported in Zen creatures across the planet. Eventually, the Combine invaded. The Combine found Earth thanks to the Portal Storms. It is however unknown if they actually used the Portal Storms to invade Earth. It is a possibility though. Black Mesa Facility. The Black Mesa Facility is one of cartoonish size and mysterious background. It's secret, underground, and throughout Half-Life 1 we learn more and more about its questionable ethics, like them experimenting on Zen creatures. They mostly seem to be interested in teleportation, but we don't truly know about all the events that happened in the massive complex. Black Mesa Incident. The Black Mesa Incident refers to the Resonance Cascade, which caused a rift to open between Zen and our world, causing the Zen alien invasion and eventually the Combine invasion. This event was caused by an experiment involving a Zen crystal, a specimen brought to Black Mesa by the G-Man. It is most likely that the G-Man had some stake in this event happening, but the details of it are unknown. Black Mesa and Zen. Black Mesa has set up in Zen prior to the player venturing there for the first time. The evidence for this being seen in Half-Life Blue Shift, where we find equipment and a teleporter. This isn't confirmed canon, but not something that seems unlikely to be true. Black Mesa Game. Black Mesa is also the name of a fan-made remake of Half-Life 1, an incredibly good one at that. You can check out my video on it for more info. Regarding the last point about Black Mesa and Zen, Black Mesa took quite a bit of creative liberty in Zen and actually added full-on maps there, ones that I think fit in really nicely I might add. Black Mesa is basically just a huge graphical overhaul that also remade all the maps. C1A3 unaliving himself scientist scene. At the beginning of We've Got Hostiles, as a way to introduce the mechanic of mines, we see a scientist running into a mine in front of our eyes, essentially unaliving himself. We were able to save the scientist fully and also use him to skip this chapter entirely. Just shoot him in the leg and push him to the door, and there you go. Probably the most well-known Half-Life 1 skip there is, Gold Source. Gold Source is the predecessor to the Source engine. It's based on the engine used in Quake, though heavily modified. Pretty groundbreaking for its time, pretty outdated now. Half-Life trailer by James Benson. The Half-Life trailer by James Benson is an incredibly great fan version of a trailer for Half-Life 1, featuring incredible animation using the original models. He eventually ended up being hired by Valve as an animator. I'll link the trailer in the description. HECU. The HECU are the main antagonists in Half-Life 1 besides the Zen aliens. They are a special force unit of the United States Marine Corps and were sent to kill everyone and everything they find in the Black Mesa research facility. While we don't learn a whole lot about them in Half-Life 1 itself, Opposing Force gives us some new background info. We see the G-Man talking to a soldier in a window. He apparently let the HECU know that they would need to get good at indoor combat in only 1 week. This further implies that the G-Man knew something would go wrong in Black Mesa. In Opposing Force, the HECU get expanded by featuring engineers and medics. Transit system. The transit system is the main way workers at Black Mesa commute. It further adds to the cartoonish size of Black Mesa. Counter-Strike. The original Counter-Strike started as a Half-Life 1 mod made by Min Lee and Jess Cliff. It eventually got picked up by Valve in the year 2000. A lot of old maps still use a lot of Half-Life assets and sounds. It obviously has evolved a ton since then, with its newest release being CS2 in 2023, where basically no remains of Half-Life can be found. Gonarch/Big Mama. The Gonarch, otherwise known as Big Mama, is an enemy only seen in Half-Life 1. It's the final stage of a headcrab's evolution. It's apparently the mother of all headcrabs, or at least one of the mothers. It's unknown if there might be multiple in the Half-Life universe, though one was to be seen again in Half-Life 2 in the form of the Big Mama pod. This was basically just the sack of the Gonarch that would spawn headcrabs. The area it was to be seen in is still found in Ravenholm, down the mines near the end of the chapter. Half-Life Opposing Force. Half-Life Opposing Force is the first expansion released for Half-Life 1 and was made by Gearbox Software. This expansion is the fan favorite, the best expansion of the 3 in many people's eyes. The protagonist, Adrian Shepard, is part of the HECU that gets sent to Black Mesa. Along his adventure, he comes in contact with a whole new species of aliens, Race X. Race X will be talked about in more detail later down this iceberg. At the end of the game, spoiler alert, Adrian gets put into stasis. He has yet to be seen again in Half-Life. It's unsure whether this game is canon to the Half-Life universe or not. Half-Life Blue Shift. Blue Shift is a cool, rather short Half-Life 1 expansion from the perspective of the character that later became Barney Calhoun. Most people try to compare it to Opposing Force, as that one managed to add a lot more content into the game. I personally just love both for what they are. Half-Life Decay. The only official co-op campaign expansion of Half-Life. It is sadly a PS2 exclusive even to this day, though you can play it unofficially by other means. It consists of many missions and also has some big tie-ins to the Half-Life lore. For example, the ending consists of the two protagonists Gina Cross and Colette Green fending off a device to close the big portal presumably held open by the Nihilin. Something many think contradicts the Half-Life lore. Lambda Generation. Lambda Generation refers to two things. For one, there's a YouTube channel called Lambda Generation, a channel about all things Half-Life and Valve. Definitely worth a sub if you're into Half-Life at all. Lambda Generation also refers to a website though. It's somewhat similar to Reddit, but only a few communities exist, all somewhat connected to either Valve or Half-Life. Also a great website for anyone interested in Half-Life content. By the way, it's much appreciated if you follow me there. The most followed person on Lambda Generation is, from all I know, the Black Mesa dev team with 900 followers. It would be really funny to be the most followed person on the site. Russell is Laszlo. It's not a secret that Russell, the character seen in Half-Life Alyx, was at one point planned to be called Laszlo, which is also the name for the greatest mind of our generation. It's not entirely clear why this was changed, perhaps to stop either the confusion between the two, or as to not have the character be confirmed dead in Half-Life 2 and onwards. November 19th, 1998. This is the date that Half-Life 1 was released. A pretty important date for Valve. It doesn't have any more relevance in the Half-Life story though, not that we know of. Zen. Zen is also referred to as the Border World, a separate overlapping dimension discovered by the Black Mesa science team. Zen was regularly entered by Black Mesa personnel using portals to collect samples. It's a dimensional transit bottleneck, an area of continual contention. If that means anything to you, good for you. It's used as a midway point in teleportation, a slingshot into local space. Whenever you teleport in Half-Life, you travel through Zen in some form. Zen is also widely regarded as the worst chapter in Half-Life 1. Not only the chapter called Zen itself, but all the chapters that take place in Zen. It's described as uninspired and unintuitive. Generally just not that fun. Dysosphere. A dysosphere is a theoretical concept of a structure that a so-called Type 2 civilization would use. Type 2 civilization being one that is so far advanced that it can garner radiated energy from a star. Nikolai Kardashev being the great thinker that thought of the Kardashev scale, which is used to measure the level of a civilization's technology. A dysosphere is a solar energy construct built around a sun, thus harvesting basically infinite energy. This structure is possible in theory, but currently very far beyond human engineering capacity. In Epistle 3, Mark later wrote about the combined dysosphere. If you are to assume Epistle 3 canon, The Combine have their own dice sphere from which they draw their energy. Due to the Combine being able to invade other worlds, this seems more than plausible. If you care to see a mod incorporate the dice sphere at least somewhat, check out the Trophy02 or my video on it, HEV suit. The HEV suit is a suit worn by Gordon, the protagonist of Half-Life and other Black Mesa personnel. HEV is the abbreviation for Hazardous Environment Suit. The suit was designed for use in hazardous environments. It provides limited protection from the elements. It also displays vital information on the heads-up display, alongside a female voice that provides the user information. The suit can be recharged using charging stations, through which it is able to provide more protection. In Half-Life 1, Gordon is wearing a Mark IV model. In Half-Life 2, it's upgraded to Mark V. Half-Life Source. Half-Life 1 runs on the Gold Source engine, but it later got a Source release as well. This port is notoriously awful and broken, and as of lately has actually been hidden from the Steam store. You can still get it, but it's harder to do so now. It involves a ton of bugs that I don't even have the time to get into now. Some of them becoming iconic glitches in gaming. Nobody in human history has ever recommended anyone to play Half-Life Source over the original Half-Life 1, if that helps. Mr. Friendly. This is the first and last time I'm mentioning any cut characters of Half-Life, as otherwise this video would just be repeating my cut characters of Half-Life series, which you should definitely check out. But I'm gonna explain Mr. Friendly and only this cut character in this video, as it is the one with the very most interesting story. Mr. Friendly is arguably the most well-known cut character of any game out there. It was planned to be about the size of a horse, moving in a very awkward, shuffling manner that makes a noise similar to fingernails on a chalkboard. It would go around eating bodies, which was Valve's way of explaining where bodies disappeared, the real reason being to improve performance. Pretty clever of them. It has a total of 3 attacks: Spurs, Vomit, and Fatal Copulation, as they so nicely put it. The animations are also still included in the game files. Not the Fatal Copulation one, just to be clear. Spurs would have knocked down the player, which would have caused the player to drop the weapon they were holding. It was even planned for Gordon's glasses to fly off, causing the vision to go blurry. This would have been challenging to implement back in the 90s though. Vomit would probably just be a ranged sort of attack. Fatal Copulation is, I think, self-explanatory, and probably explains why it was cut eventually. The story as how it came to be is interesting as well. Ken Birdwell, a software developer at Valve, had a friend whose 12-year-old brother used to draw. The name of the 12-year-old being Ted Backman, who is also credited with creating this creature. Ken Birdwell asked him to provide some sketches for possible monsters. He presented several very sexual-oriented monsters to him and Gabe Newell, which Birdwell was not expecting. Among these was Mr. Friendly, who obviously looked like... I think you can figure? Ted Backman explained the concept that the creature would draw its victims in and perform the fatal copulation, which Gabe seemed interested enough in to have a discussion about. The sexual themes of some of these creatures were intended to elicit a response from the innate homophobia of 14-year-old boys, a significant portion of the targeted audience for the game. Which I'm not exactly sure what they were thinking here. Honestly, it sounds like it would have made the 14-year-old boys even more homophobic. So it was cut for the better, I'd say. If I was to theorize, Mr. Friendly would have been used to further enhance the horror aspect of Half-Life 1. I made a video on Half-Life Echoes, an awesome mod for Half-Life 1 that actually features Mr. Friendly. I recommend checking out that video and the mod, as I think it made a great use of the NPC similar to how it would have most likely been used, were it included in the final game. PS2 port. The PS2 port of Half-Life is well known for the fact that it has very much improved graphics, the character models especially being much more detailed, featuring eyes that track movement. The levels were also updated and extended. Most bugs were also patched, making it the most technologically advanced and stable version of the game to date. It also features a 2-player deathmatch mode via split screen. And it is to note that Half-Life DK is only officially available on the PlayStation 2 as well. Zen creatures. Zen creatures are all hostile, either directly or indirectly, with very few exceptions. A notable exception being the Vortigaunt Seal and Interloper, which are classified as workers. These will only attack if provoked. Something not really told to the player, thus ending in everyone immediately killing them. As previously mentioned, Zen creatures seem to all not be natives of the Zen world, instead originating from somewhere else. Some species, such as the barnacles, bull squid, headcrabs, and houndeyes, appear to occupy niches similar to various carnivorous terrestrial animals. The most evolved creature seen seems to be the gonarch though, which is the final stage of a headcrab's life cycle. There are also more intelligent Zen species, such as the alien controllers and vortigaunts. Alien controllers, vortigaunts, alien grunts, and the Dehelant all seemingly coming from the same civilization. Some Zen creatures return in Half-Life 2, such as the vortigaunt, headcrabs, and barnacles. The fate of the others is unknown. City 17's beta location. The inspiration of early versions of City 17 seem more Americanized. This is the first image Valve came up with while developing City 17. It looks very much like an American city. We never get to see a proper skyscraper in the final game, except for the Citadel. While it's unknown where exactly the game took place in the beta, it does not look like the Eastern Europe version we eventually got. Freeman started everything. This is a fact, depending on how you look at it. While obviously a collaborative work with the Black Mesa personnel, Gordon was the one who actually pushed the Zen crystal in. causing the resonance cascade, which led to the portal storms, which led to the Combine invasion. G-Man's briefcase. The G-Man is always seen carrying around his briefcase. It's unknown why he does this. I would discuss its contents, but that is a point way later down the iceberg, so see ya there. Combine abominations. Combine abominations most likely refers to creatures that have been created or modified by the Combine. The Combine is known for its use of genetic manipulation and technology to create various synthetic life forms and enhance existing species for its own purposes. This might specifically be referring to the Combine guard of the Beta, which was to be the last step of a human getting turned into a synth. Only a bit of face being left of the human, which is pretty gruesome. Fast headcrabs were supposed to be the only headcrabs in Half-Life 2. This seems to be true, evidenced by the fact that the model of the fast headcrab is called headcrabbed.mdl. It also fits with the early designs of the Hound Eye, which show the Hound Eye as a very skinny creature, probably due to the species getting starved out on Earth. The same explanation could be used for the headcrab looking more lanky in Half-Life 2. Eventually, the normal headcrab we know today was introduced, the model of it being called headcrabclassic.mdl. Why does the G-Man hate the Vortigons? This is an interesting question. This point is only a theory. I'm unsure if hate really suits it. He simply doesn't seem to like the fact that they stole the Freeman away from him after Half-Life 2. They are the only species more powerful than the G-Man, at least in certain cases, if the power is concentrated. Gordon is the G-Man's puppet. True, this is a theory that seems to basically be fact, and something more heavily discussed in points later down the iceberg. Half-Life and Portal are in the same universe. True, as is evidenced by the multiple references the games make to one another, and also the Borealis being a major plot point of Episode 2. The Borealis was built by Aperture Science, the labs that Portal takes place in. You can also find the dock of the Borealis in Portal 2. As the Combine are very interested in teleportation, it leads to question why they haven't found the portal gun yet. Then again, the USA is crossed out on the globe and Aperture Science is deep underground. There's probably nobody looking there. How much further this connection will develop is up to speculation though. I assume that it will stay at the Borealis being a slight connection. Zoo zombie. Minor Half-Life Alyx spoiler. At one point in Half-Life Alyx you are in a zoo. In this zoo you find a zookeeper zombie who is looking at the pictures drawn by children. A pretty sad detail that seems to indicate that the person under the headcrab still has some kind of consciousness. Or it's just the headcrab reading the person's consciousness. Black Mesa stole from Aperture Science. Not really true. Both Aperture Science and Black Mesa were working to develop the same technology, teleportation, and developed it in two different ways, Crab and Mortarsin. These are two almost cut enemies seen in Half-Life 2. They are seen once in the Citadel. They show a very different color scheme than the Combine synth we ended up seeing. The Crab synth actually features some attack animations, which lead to believe that its behavior was to be similar to that of the Endline Guard. Half-Life 1 alternative ending. At the end of Half-Life 1, you can choose to either work with the G-Man by entering the portal, or refuse. Refusing leads to you being sent to a battle you have no chance of winning. This is the ending this is referring to. If you go with this one, the story of Gordon Freeman ends then and there. Unused intro. This could be referring to multiple things. It's most likely referring to the unused intro cinematic that was to be featured in the scrapped Dreamcast version of Half-Life. Something I must say really doesn't fit into Half-Life. Half-Life 2 Episode 2 also has a cut intro, one of which the chapter image can still be seen by editing the file that controls Half-Life 2 Episode 2's chapters. It was to show the ending of Episode 1 once more, recapping the events of it. There's also a good chance it was to feature the unused Citadel destruction animation. It might also be referring to either of the two Half-Life 2 beta intros that were originally planned. One of them was to start on the Borealis, the other one was to involve a train ride similar to the one seen at the start of Half-Life 1, just this time leading the player to City 17. Some animations of this intro are still included in Citizen animations. G-Man is a Nihilant. A very unlikely theory. The Nihilant often seem to be referring to the G-Man while talking telepathically to Freeman. So yeah, rather unlikely. TF2 and Half-Life connections. It doesn't really seem likely that they are in the same universe. There is at least one connection though. In TF2, there is a chance for bots to be called Ivan the Space Biker, which was the early version of a protagonist for Half-Life 1 before Gordon Freeman, Dead Earth. The only thing I can imagine this referring to is the fact that Earth is being robbed of its resources by the Combine, mainly water. The low sea level seen around Half-Life 2 clearly showcased this. Hidden Advisor GUI, most likely referring to this specific texture. It's found on the other end of the Breen call at the end of Half-Life 2. It involves a texture that shows multiple planets on a computer screen of sorts. Breen became an advisor. There's a popular theory that this, and this advisor are the same one. This advisor being Breen. Breen talked about the host body to the advisor at the end of Half-Life 2. In Episode 1, we see this advisor get introduced. In Episode 2, we see it learning how to control its body by using a barrel and a dead body. Then later we see it take care of Eli alongside another advisor. It isn't confirmed this is Breen, but it's a more than plausible theory. X8973 and R4913. These are the names of two Vortigons seen in the bonus chapter of Half-Life DK called Zen Attacks. Both of these are protagonists. They are drone suspects sent by the Nihilant. Their mission is to retrieve a crystal stolen from Zen. A pretty fun concept. G-Man is responsible for everything. As I mentioned before and will mention more so throughout the iceberg, it seems like the G-Man is pulling all the strings, thus him being responsible for everything. Trans 7. In the Half-Life 2 beta there is a sound file called Trans 6. A pretty disturbing sound. Have a listen. It was only seen in one singular map in the beta, in Hazard 01, a map made by Mark Laidlaw. It involved the player in a hazard course guided recliner. Later the player would go down a series of hallways while seeing disturbing sights, like a zombie torso on a table or seeing spooky stuff appearing. Later on, there was a hallway with flashing balls alongside the sound. Mark Laidlaw made this level in an attempt to test if any surreal effects could be incorporated into Half-Life 2. Trend 7, however, is not real, and involves a troll video uploaded by @pass9786. It sounds like this. It's just the gnome meme sound effect, made to sound somewhat like the Trend 6 sound effect. North America was destroyed by the Combine in an attempt to kill the G-Man. Could be possible. The last known location of the G-Man before the Combine invaded was the USA. There is not much speaking towards or against this. Blue Shift isn't canon. While unlikely, this could be the case. I think Blue Shift is the least law-breaking one of the bunch. They do however have a somewhat stable and frequent teleport already at the end of Blue Shift. Something similar to the one in Kleiner's lab in Half-Life 2. This might be a bit law-breaking, as such advanced technology would surely be used by the Combine. Though to counter this, you could argue that the nuke that blew up Black Mesa destroyed this technology as well. There's also the fact that Barney never meets the G-Man, as far as we know. This leads to an aspect not often regarded: game over screens. If you ever notice how the game over screens seem to all be in lore, it's a very much formal briefing most of the time during Half-Life 1 and 2. In Half-Life 2 Episode 2, it's written in a way the Vortigons would speak, as Freeman was being watched over by the Vortigons here. It seems that these are somewhat canon to the lore, and if a fail happens, time just gets reverted so that everything continues from the last save point. This is obviously just me theorizing, not confirmed. Barney has nobody that watches over him that we know of. Thus his game over screen seems somewhat law-breaking. I also have another theory. Huge spoiler alert for Alex. Absolutely detrimental spoiler warning in fact. At the end of Half-Life Alyx, once we get to revive Eli, we see time rewind back to the point before Eli gets killed. What if Eli himself was being watched over by the G-Man? He got a game over screen and time actually got warped backwards to Eli's last save point. Now saving and loading is obviously not directly canon, but it could be that saving is seen in lore as points in time that can be warped back to. Origins of it being unknown. This entire theory basically asked for a whole video of its own, which is something I'm planning to do definitely. Have a go at theorizing this for yourself if you want to. The Black Mesa cover-up was in vain. The HCCU got sent to cover up the events that transpired in Black Mesa. Then the Black Ops got sent to cover up the events further by eliminating the HCCU. However, in Half-Life 2 and specifically confirmed in Half-Life Alyx, the events that happened at Black Mesa are widely known. It does not seem to be 100% confirmed to everyone, as a newspaper in Half-Life Alyx uses a clickbait headline saying what really happened at Black Mesa in an interview with Breen. But it seems like a global thing that everyone has at least heard about. Alyx's original dog. This is talking about Skitch, Alyx's original pet. This character was eventually merged with another pet called T-Bot, which at the point of the beta only belonged to Eli Maxwell, who at this point wasn't the father of Alyx. Check out my cut character video for more info. Missing songs. This seems to be referring to the way songs are named in Half-Life. By just taking a glance at it, you will see that a lot of numbers are missing, which means that there may very well be a lot of songs that got cut during development. Missing maps. Similar to the missing songs, there are two missing maps when it comes to numbering. There is D1 Canals 03 and D1 Canals 05. D1 Canals 04 seems to be lost. The same goes for D2 Coast 02 and D2 Coast 06. Half-Life 1 reads your CD drive. This is true. If you have an audio CD in your CD drive, the music will replace Half-Life 1's soundtrack. It's actually a really cool detail. Half-Life and Max Knight. Max Knight Ultra Spy is a pretty old movie. At one point there is a scene in which a guy travels into a computer. He eventually arrives in Half-Life 1, in an unknown Zen level. It's actually a really cool scene and includes a 3D model made of the protagonist. It's obvious that the scene was made with a lot of love. It actually lasts for quite a while. Go check it out if you feel like it. Squeal1.wave. This refers to a very weird sound heard in the Coast chapter of Half-Life 2 at Station NLO. Once this NPC on top of the tower dies, it can be heard. This sound actually makes sense though. Usually, this guy only dies once the gunship arrives. The sound is meant to be the radio next to him breaking, thus making the sound fit really well. Japanese Gordon Freeman model. There is an arcade game for Half-Life 2 called Half-Life 2 Survivor. This game included a very low poly version of the Gordon Freeman model used for the cover art. There are enhanced versions of this model floating around the internet. C1A0 Muffled Conversation. At the beginning of Half-Life 1, you can see the G-Man talking to a scientist. This conversation is heavily muffled and it has never been 100% confirmed what exactly they are saying, though the conversation is less muffled in other languages. Liebert made a great recreation using what they gathered from the Spanish version. The conversation would sound something like this.
I had one decision to make. I will certainly... I've told you 100 times.
I will propose not to get equipment to detect the undetectable.
My employers just agree.
Have told you 100 times. I will propose.
So it's basically just about the scientists being concerned about the test and pushing the machinery past its limits. The G-Man basically pressuring him to doing it, saying that it is not the scientist's decision to make and that the employers of G-Man agree that it needs to be done. Breen is a scientist talking to G-Man at the beginning. This could very well be true. As the G-Man delivered the Zen crystal to Black Mesa, he must have talked with Breen at some point, as this was a huge test and a generous donation in their eyes. So there's nothing to disprove this, but also no proof of it either. Though it is to note that the character talking to G-Man does have a randomized head, which can lead to him being either way too old to be an early Breen version or looking too different to be plausible. G-Man and his employees are in a cold war with the Combine and Earth is used as a mean of proxy warfare. I honestly kinda always assumed this. Not that Earth was specifically chosen, but that Earth just so happened to be at the right place at the right time, or wrong place at the wrong time, however you may see it. Then again, the G-Man and his employer seem to be the ones that wanted the resonance cascade to happen if the muffled conversations are anything to go by. So who knows? Also, Half-Life Alyx spoiler ahead. Half-Life Alyx seems to further confirm the Combine and the G-Man being in some kind of war, due to the fact that the Combine tried to capture and contain the G-Man, Gonark under Ravenholm. This was indeed planned to happen. Not directly a Gonark, but a simplified version of it instead. Calabi Yao model. This is a model of teleportation used in the teleporter in Eli and Kleiner's lab. This seems to be a fully made up concept. It uses Zen as a slingshot to teleport people locally. That's all we really know. And we also know that if a headcrab is to interfere with this, it can cause random teleportation destinations. G-Man is an advisor. If one is to assume that the advisors do not only exist in the common world, but are actually just highly evolved species spread throughout dimensions, this could be the case. Perhaps G-Man is one of these highly evolved species we know as advisors, that is at odds with the Combine, though he would also need to possess shapeshifting powers, something that I don't think would be a huge problem for the G-Man. Combine raided Aperture Science. There is no mention of this anywhere in both Portal and Half-Life, and it seems more like the opposite is true. However, Epistle 3 does make mention of this. You should definitely read the story yourself, but put real short, the Borealis is described as a ship stuck in every time at once. And it's specifically described that you can see future worlds, the present time, the 7-hour war, and the dock of Aperture Science as the ship is being teleported away as a means to keep it away from the Combine. Half-Life2.com/secret. There was a short Half-Life 2 ARG created by Valve in 2004 that was used to promote the upcoming release of Half-Life 2. It started when Merc of Valve Time being a website formerly known as Half-Life2.net, visited the Valve headquarters to playtest Half-Life 2. One of the pictures he uploaded included a whiteboard with peculiar writing. Another forum user, Lanternite, found and encrypted the message encoded in Word 13 in his writing. The encrypted message was the URL halflife2.com/secret/prompt. When entered, the website asked for a username and password. It was later discovered that the whiteboard photo was incomplete because it was cut off. The company was contacted, to which Eric Johnson of Valve gave the username Valve and the password, read it for yourself. This opened a page with a picture of the G-Man and a congratulatory message stating, "Hello Halflife2.net, your cleverness is noted, you've passed the first test." The source code of the site included ASCII art images of Gordon Freeman and a bird identified as a robin, an ASCII art piece created by John Stark that was previously posted by Valve designer Greg Kuma on the Halflife2.net forums. The second test started a month later when another Halflife2.net user, Calhoun, discovered a short text message hidden inside a picture of the G-Man. The message was, "Password is Nova/prospect. This is the second test." These access details did not work on the page. A couple days later, a hidden link was discovered in Half-Life 2's official website. An image called gmansecondtest.gif was found. When clicked, it opened the URL halflife2.com/secret/secondtest/entry.php. This page asked for username and password, which were Nova and Prospect respectively. This took users to a black page with a text input box in the middle. The source code of the page had an ASCII art of Alex Vance alongside the same bird included before and the incomplete URL /secret/secondtest/whatsmyname.jpg. When viewed, the image depicted a barnacle in Half-Life. Entering the word barnacle in the input box revealed this Half-Life 2 artwork most of you probably have seen before. Another secret of Halflife2.com was revealed on September 23, 2004. The page of halflife2.com/hl2.php was discovered by the community. This page was home to a short text adventure game based on Half-Life 2 called Half-Life 2 PHP. This was confirmed by Valve's Chris Borkich to not be related to the previous tests. ARGs are so cool, I swear. Pyro TF2 is a Combine soldier. Incredibly unlikely, though we do not know what the Pyro looks like under the mask, of course. The Combine seem to be a multiversal being of sorts. Perhaps one crazy one escaped into the TF2 universe, saving Eli glitch. There is a great video uploaded by Maximum ADHD that showcases a glitch with which you can save Eli from his demise in Half-Life 2 Episode 2. It involves taking a bunch of props and climbing to the area where the advisors are waiting for the cutscene to start. It's pretty tricky and leaves the ending cutscene in a very glitched state, but it does work. Gina caused the Black Mesa incident. This is somewhat true. In both Blue Shift and Decay, you can see and play the person that delivered the Zen crystal to the test chamber. Gina crossed. It's all really just stupid shifting the blame though, really. It was the whole facility that was at fault. Kleiner magazine. On one of the info boards in Kleiner's lab, you can find a magazine called Popular Scientist, on which Kleiner is seen on the cover of, alongside a full head of hair. Gina crossed corpse in Opposing Force. Yes, this is real, and has been confirmed by the people that made Opposing Force to be accurate. Gina Cross died, her body being found in Opposing Force. I really dislike how it's just an off-screen death. I hope they retcon this, if the expansion is ever to be made canon. Colette Green is the mystery woman. Minor Half-Life Alyx spoiler. Colette Green is the other protagonist of Half-Life Decay, and we truly do not know where she went after Half-Life Decay, so this could be possible. We already have confirmation that there are plans for the mystery woman in the future, so we'll probably find out. Hidden G-Man appearance. This might be referring to one really rare G-Man appearance in Half-Life 2, which I also made a video about. But looking inside of this machine in Eli's lab, you can make out the face of the G-Man ever so incredibly slightly. A very interesting place to hide the G-Man. AR-3. The AR-3 is a non-existent weapon referred to in a conversation between some rabbits in White Forest. Most of you probably know this conversation already. While funny, it is also used to explain to the player that the AR-2 Altfire is useful against hunters. Here's a bit of the conversation though.
So, you ever used an AR-2 before?
AR-2? No. Now, an AR-3, sure. Plenty of times.
There is no such thing as an AR-3.
B-hopping. B-hopping is short for bunny hopping. It's an exploit that abuses frame-perfect jumps in order to make the game believe that you're still falling, thus rapidly increasing your speed. This used to work in Half-Life 2 but was later mostly fixed. The fix however allowed for a new glitch. Valve's way of fixing the original glitch was to subtract a fraction of his speed by applying this said fraction in backwards momentum to the player. So by simply jumping and turning around before landing and doing the same frame-perfect jumps, you can use this debuff to instead gain a further buff in speed. Once you get the hang of it, it can be really fun. This method is also called accelerated backhopping, or ABH for short. Barney Calhoun. We all know Barney Calhoun, former Black Mesa security that ended up becoming a civil protection spy and a hero in the uprising. The only reason I suspect him to be this far down the iceberg is because of him never being mentioned in episode 2. I personally suspect him to be the protagonist of a future VR spin-off, similar to Half-Life Alyx. Also, he's once heard in episode 2. Once the player wins the final Destroyer battle and returns to the base, you can hear him say, "Good job, Gordon."
Gordon Freeman!
Good job, Gordon!
The subtitles are also colored blue, furthermore referring that Barney said this. In reality, this was an error made by a mapper, who used a Barney line mistakenly. However, Mark later joked that Barney might be hiding in one of the crates at the end of episode 2 instead. Eli's leg. Eli's leg was lost during his escape from Black Mesa due to a bolt squid. In the Half-Life 2 beta, the early version of Eli Vance, Eli Maxwell, lost his leg due to a particle storm, a cut enemy of Half-Life 2. Ponytail. Gordon Freeman used to have a ponytail in Half-Life 1, something that's missing by the time of Half-Life 2. Why this is the case is unknown. Level 3, Ocean Line. We are past the basic info of Half-Life at this point, we're getting serious now. 1997 rewrite. Half-Life 1 was completely overhauled and rewritten in 1997 to improve the game's characters, story and level design. The game was originally planned to ship in this year in order to compete with Quake 2. The rework was for the better, as the game was a lot more basic before this rewrite from all we know. We don't know exactly about all the things that were changed. A ton of cut content we know from today most likely came from before the rewrite though. For example, the Panther Eye. Currency of the citizens. There seems to be no currency that we know of in the world of Half-Life post the common invasion. Mark later once answered this question and said that this simply never came up during writing and that he doesn't want to make anything up now. But he said that given that Dr. Breen's private reserve vending machines appearing to be free of charge and the citizens receiving free food and clothes, there doesn't seem to be a currency. Asian. Asian is the wife of Eli. She's seen on this picture. She's one of the many who did not make it out of Black Mesa. The Half-Life 2 beta was to reveal more background lore about her that seems to have been scrapped in the retail game, like her mysteriously disappearing, leaving only her wedding ring behind. Here's a theory with absolutely no backing, Alyx spoiler ahead. What if the mystery woman is Asian and this will only be revealed in a Half-Life VR spin-off featuring Adrian Shepard as the protagonist? Go have fun with that theory. Hunt Down the Freeman is canon. Hunt Down the Freeman is a community mod that actually released on Steam and costs money. It's widely known as the biggest failure in Half-Life. Specifically on release it was filled with game-breaking bugs and awful level design. It's of course not official. It did license the Half-Life IP though. There's nothing that happens in Hunt Down the Freeman that specifically confirms that it can't be canon. I think. The game is pretty bad though and also has no significance to the Half-Life lore, which is most likely why close to nobody considers it canon. Black Ops. The Black Ops are the main antagonists alongside the aliens in Half-Life Opposing Force. They come from a higher up secret government entity. They were sent to kill the HECU in Black Mesa and to blow up the facility using a nuke. They are fully dressed in black and are a pretty hard fight, though mostly the same as the HECU. The question of where they came from is the more interesting one I think. Near the end of Opposing Force, you successfully disarm the nuke, only for it to be reactivated by the G-Man. In the finale of the game, you see the flash of a nuke, thus indicating that they were successful. While the events of Opposing Force remain to be proven canon, this nuclear blast seems to be a thing in the Half-Life universe. Fully modded. I made a full video on this topic. Fully modded refers to a fan-made remaster of Half-Life 2 called Cinematic Mod. I won't go very far into the details, but I will tell you about the specific fully modded scandal. At one point, the game included literal pod models with fully modeled private parts. This is what fully modeled refers to. Cancelled Sega Dreamcast port. Half-Life was planned to be released on Dreamcast at one point alongside Blue Shift, which was at this point also a Dreamcast exclusive game. It was canned shortly before its release due to changing market conditions, word of Sierra Entertainment. E3 1998 beta. A near final version of Half-Life 1 was shown at the 1998 E3. E3 is a trade event for the video game industry in the United States. You can find a lot of the videos of early Half-Life footage that was shown at that event on YouTube. Cody Cabbage. Cody Cabbage was at one point planned to be the son of Odessa Cabbage. Cody was to hate his name. It is unknown if this character was planned for a release game or perhaps for a future title. Half-Life 2 Classic. Half-Life 2 Classic is a mod that is aiming to backport Half-Life 2 into Gold Source. Why? It's just kind of funny, really. But seriously, the mod is made with a ton of talent. They even have a functioning gravity gun. You can download the Ravenholm port already. The last news of the team behind this mod came in 2020, so it's unknown if it's still being worked on. Half-Life Fact Files. This is a title of a really awesome Half-Life series made by Malfittimus Blackimus, showcasing random Half-Life facts, mostly of the first game and its expansions. You guys probably have seen videos of theirs before. If not, definitely go check them out. New ones are somehow still releasing. Goes to show how detailed of a game Half-Life is. Half-Life Field Intensity. Field Intensity is an awesome mod that further connects all the Half-Life 1 expansions and basically plays like an official expansion as well. Definitely one of the best Half-Life 1 mods ever made. I made a full video on it in case you want to learn more about it. Holographic Assistant. This is referring to the hologram seen in Black Mesa's training course. The character we see is Gina Cross, who was later used as a protagonist. There's also one of a character called Miller in Blue Shift. It further showcases some of the advanced technology Black Mesa owns. Materials Handler. Also known as a sample card, this is a device used to push the Zen crystal into the anti-mass spectrometer. It was made to look like a futuristic shopping cart. Signal Lost. Another great mod that aims to bring back some cut chapters of Half-Life 1, specifically the X-Lab. The X-Lab is a cut area in which you were to meet a female scientist that was to betray you, something we later saw in Judith Mossman. I will probably at some point make a video on this mod as well. If so, it's linked here now. Sven Co-op. Sven Co-op is a fan-made mod that makes Half-Life 1 playable in co-op, while also adding some own content into it. It's very mostly the same as the Half-Life 1 campaign though. Fun fact, before Half-Life 1 became free on the store, this was a way to play Half-Life 1 for free, as Sven Co-op is and has been free forever, and actually included all of Half-Life 1's maps for many years now, even if slightly changed as mentioned. Tentacle. No idea why this is so far down. It's just an enemy encountered by the player in both Half-Life 1 and Opposing Force. Fun fact though, they are also seen in Half-Life Alyx once, where we see baby versions of them developing. Russian bubblegum. At one point there used to be a Half-Life bubblegum in Russia. It featured artwork of the leaked beta. Since it's unlikely Valve licensed this, it is most likely bootleg. There is a video on Malfittimus Blackimus' channel where he opens a pack of them and tries them, 6 years after they were originally sold. Go check it out for more detail. Anti-mass spectrometer. A room-sized piece of equipment designed by Dr. Rosenberg, a character seen in Blue Shift. It is the machine that eventually caused the resonance cascade. The entire science behind this machine is basically a bunch of made-up gibberish. So if you're really interested in it, you can go read it up. It's not really relevant to anything later down the line in Half-Life lore. It is to note that this room was later seen in the Half-Life 2 intro. Brutal Half-Life. Brutal Half-Life is a mod that makes Half-Life more brutal by adding more weapons and more violent effects. A very fun mod. Day of Defeat. Day of Defeat, like many of Valve's other games, started as a Half-Life 1 mod. It eventually got a Source remake. Day of Defeat is basically just a multiplayer World War II shooter. Nothing special, but also not bad. It's a fun game, though I would recommend the Source version over the original, Einstein. This scientist is nicknamed Einstein, probably due to looking like him. Half-Life Alpha. The Half-Life Alpha is the version dated to September 8, 1997. You can actually download this alpha in a playable state. It was leaked by a Reddit user in 2013. Half-Life HD Pack. Hated by many, the Half-Life HD Pack was included in the PC release of Blue Shift. This was enabled by default in Half-Life and its expansions ever since, up until the recent 25th anniversary update, where it was changed to be disabled by default. The biggest criticism it gets is that it changed some of the weapons to less tentacle versions. It doesn't make sense that this pistol uses 9mm. Some also say the M16, which replaced the SMG, looks way more powerful than the SMG and thus feels underpowered due to having the damage of the SMG. I personally don't have a huge problem with it. Sorry, Half-Life M-Mod. This is referring to the fan-made M-Mod series. These basically provide an upgrade to all the Half-Lives by improving graphics and some gameplay elements, all of which is toggleable. Definitely a good way to play through all the Half-Lives, though it is to note that there isn't a released version for Opposing Force or Blue Shift yet. Ivan the Space Biker, the early version of the Half-Life 1 protagonist, later cut due to the playtesters thinking that he looks like a hobo. You can choose him as a player model in Half-Life 1's multiplayer though, ever since the 25th anniversary update. Protozone, a friendly entity seen in Zen, a bluish, transparent rock-like entity orbiting above the ground, with a smaller, reddish, rock-like shape inside. It has no AI and thus also no reaction to whatever the player tries to do to it. Smelling mechanic. Half-Life 1 characters have a sense of smell. This is done by playing an unhearable sound that attracts creatures or causes human characters to respond to bad smells. There's a lot more interesting detail about it, like for example corpses only smelling bad for 30 seconds, or bull squids being attracted by certain smells to go and eat. Tactical map. The tactical map is seen in Half-Life 1 and is used to coordinate mortar strikes. It's pretty tedious to control this thing, but done well for 1998 I must say. Playhugger, a great mod series for Half-Life 1. It features quite a bit of comedy and fully converts the game to have its own story. I'd recommend you to go check it out for yourself. I'd probably also do a video on this mod someday. If so, it's linked in the top right corner. Entropy Zero. This is the name of a great mod series where you play as a Combine, widely regarded as one of the best Half-Life mods ever. Specifically the second part. The mod has way too many great features to mention them all here. I made a full hour-long analysis on it, so go check that out for more detail. Bullsquid.com. Bullsquid.com is a fun website that plays music and shows a 3D model of a bull squid spinning around. By clicking, you change the model and the music. It also shows how many people have previously bull squidded and how many are bullying their squid right now. A fun little site. Deathmatch Classic. Deathmatch Classic is basically a remake of the multiplayer component of Quake. It was released by Valve as a tribute to id Software. The game still has some fans, though the player count is generally pretty low. Gold Source is a heavily modified Quake engine. This is true. Half-Life Deathmatch Source. It's the multiplayer component of Half-Life 1 remade in Source. It's missing one map though, Gasworks, for some reason. Half-Life Extended. This mod basically adds all the new content seen in the expansions to Half-Life 1, as well as some cut content. It's not out yet, the last post was only 1 year ago, which is pretty recent in Half-Life 1 modding terms, so there is still hope. Hammer Editor. Have you ever been to hell? If you haven't, perhaps try booting up the Hammer Editor. The Hammer Editor is a tool used to make maps for all Gold Source and Source Engine games, though both are respectively notably different. The program is really outdated, but easy to get into to be fair. There are far superior versions for both the Gold Source and Source version of Hammer, called Jackhammer and Hammer++ respectively. If you want to get into mapping for any of the two engines, use those instead. Also, Source 2's hammers is pretty good from Honorfield. Mark IV thermonuclear device. Nicknamed the Package, this is a thermonuclear device used by the Black Ops to destroy the Black Mesa facility. Race X, a race of aliens different to those of Zen. It appears a few hours before Gordon Freeman teleports to Zen. There are quite a lot of new characters these bring into Half-Life. The Pit Drone, Pit Worm, Shock Trooper, Sprite, Voltigor, Infant Voltigor, Shock Roach, Spore Launcher and the Gene Worm. Mark later stated that he wished to elaborate on the series using the expansions. Specifically also wanted to show that there are more alien worlds than just Zen, that there was a much wider community of other things out there in the universe. Most of Race X was designed by Gearbox artists Stephen Ball and Brian Martel, Sterilizer. This could refer to two things. Either this chamber, which is known as the sterilization chamber, or a name given to the Combine sentry gun by the Overwatch. I'm assuming it's the first of the two though. A pretty weird broom, also pretty cartoonishly evil. Plays well into the name of the chapter it's seen in, Questionable Ethics. Team Fortress Classic. The first version of Team Fortress. It's a lot different than TF2, mainly due to the missing cartoonish style. The game can be fun to try out though. Voltigor. An enemy only seen in opposing force. They can be found in tunnels in large groups, nesting. They're able to shoot at the player using a devastating ranged energy bolt attack, which they create by joining 3 smaller charges coming from their mouths and front claws. They also have an infant version. They apparently hatch from eggs, as is seen here. Alex's beta design. Her beta design looked like this, and later like this. This slightly earlier model, seen in the first Half-Life 2 trailer, notably features her wearing a full-body suit and a green crop-top jacket or vest. Her face remained mostly the same in the end. Eli Vance originally wore a University of Yale sweater. In the final game, Eli wears a Harvard sweater. This used to be a Yale University sweater. Later in Episode 2, Eli instead wore a different sweater with no university on it. The G-Man nuked Black Mesa. True, it was him that activated the nuke again. The Borealis. Oh boy, where does one start with the Borealis? The Borealis is the most sought after thing in the Half-Life universe, specifically for the Resistance and Combine. It was created by Aperture Science. The Borealis is of mythical status. Its existence only confirmed thanks to Judith Mossman. It's more than likely that the Borealis will be the plot point of Episode 3. As of right now, all we have on it is speculation. Why everyone wants it is unknown as well, though it is believed to hold both the key to the win of the Resistance and the key to the Combine winning, beliefs held onto by Kleiner and Eli respectively. If Episode 3 is anything to go by, it was to be in all times and multiple places at once, something anybody boarding it would experience as well. It was teleported away by Aperture Science personnel in order to keep it away from the Combine. Teleported to the Arctic due to that being the furthest point they know. Child labor in Half-Life 2's beta. This used to be a thing. eventually cut due to playtester feedback, probably for the better. Freeman's infant nephew. There is this image you can find in Freeman's locker in Half-Life 1. It's unknown who this truly is, but Mark later suggested it to be an infant nephew of Gordon. City 17's actual location. The only confirmed thing in the Half-Life lore is that it's somewhere in Eastern Europe. It does not seem to be inspired by one literal location, though a lot of the designs hint towards it being Sofia of Bulgaria. Specifically, Half-Life Alyx made this pretty clear. Citadel screams. This refers to this soundfire. It's basically just supposed to be ambient noise to add to the Citadel, but it is not unlikely that it represents the screams of people being turned into stalkers and Vortigons having their Vought essence sucked out of them. Cancelled Half-Life 2 game about Adrian Shepard. At one point there was to be an episode 4 of Half-Life 2, a spin-off similar to the expansions of Half-Life 1. It was made by Arcane Studios, who eventually went on to create Dishonored 1 and 2 and Prey, all three being really awesome games. Episode 4 was basically fully finished, but we knew little to nothing about it other than that it was to be called Return to Ravenholm, and it was to feature Father Gregory and Adrian Shepard as the protagonist. Valve cancelled it for seemingly no good reason. Even now the team at Arcane wants to release this game to the public and still love what they created. Only somewhat recently in a documentary about Arcane did we get to learn a lot more about episode 4. Like it featuring headcrabbed zombies and Father Gregory trying to figure out a cure for the zombie virus, eventually turning into a mutant zombie himself, which would be the final boss fight. All of this sounds incredibly cool. Speedruns. As every other game, Half-Life also gets speedrun unlocked. There is also distinct categories for stuff like glitches and a few others. Barney's Hideout. This is referring to either this room seen in Half-Life Alyx, which some believe to be a hideout of Barney's, or what I believe to be more likely, is referring to this video uploaded on Victor Overtime's second channel. It showcases a humorous map made by Blixibon, who is a known mapper and creator of Mapbase, a useful tool for Half-Life 2 modders. It plays on that one Mark data statement that Barney is hidden in White Forest. It's a funny video, you should check it out. Multiple timelines. Huge Half-Life Alyx spoilers ahead, just skip to the next point if you haven't played it yet. Basically, the ending of Half-Life Alyx changes the events of Half-Life 2 Episode 2 and also ends in both the Half-Life Alyx and Half-Life 2 Episode 2 Alyx being taken away by the G-Man. As time travel is complicated, there is a theory that there are now two timelines. One where Half-Life Alyx happened and one where it didn't. I personally don't believe this to be the case. I also think that Alyx was brought out of the vault by the G-Man, with her memory of the past few minutes wiped, then Half-Life 2 and the episodes happened as usual, and then time was literally moved backwards in order to revert the death of Eli by past Alyx, who doesn't know that she did this. Then the current Alyx was taken by the G-Man. But yeah, that's just a theory obviously. G-Man is Gordon Freeman from the future. Possible, but little speaking to this. I think this mostly stems from the fact that both the names start with G and end in man. There is one little info speaking towards this. There is a cancelled expansion called Half-Life Hostile Takeover that perhaps hints at this a tiny bit, but we'll get to it later down the iceberg. What happened to the other cities after the uprising? A good question indeed. I personally think that all of them partook in the uprising after the news of Gordon Freeman being dead spread to them. Some probably won and some probably lost the fight. Perhaps we'll learn more about this in coming games. Tank in Anti-Citizen 1. There is a tank to be found in Anti-Citizen 1, the only time this model is used. It's actually remnants of a cut tank enemy in Half-Life 2, one that was to be seen in action. Military invasion of Xen. This seems to be a fact in the Half-Life universe, though little is known about it. At the end of Half-Life 1, G-Man shows us the bodies of dead HCCU soldiers and tanks in Xen. Though Mark later himself has stated that this was most likely not actually meant to be Xen, but just Black Mesa at night. The skybox could not be switched out in Gold Source in a level. He said that there was zero thought put into that, a last minute decision as they were rushing to finish the game. 7-Hour War took place a month after Black Mesa. I made a full video about this recently. There is no info as to when the 7-Hour War took place in relation to the events of Half-Life 1. The only base we have to go off of is Mark later once responding to this exact question with days, which I don't think holds a ton of ground. Check out my video if you want to, but basically the conclusion is that there is no solid base to go off of, and we can only guess through context clues, which I attempt to do in that video. Prex Wars 2 Dante's Revenge. The game is seen at the start of Half-Life Blue Shift, a reference to an actual game called Prex War, a cancelled game by developers Rebel Boat Rocker, whose key members would form Gearbox Software shortly afterwards. Also, Prex Wars is referenced in Half-Life Alyx on a floppy disk, on which we see the exact game alongside two more parts of it, a reference to Blue Shift in Half-Life Alyx. Mini-Strider. When Hunters were first being developed in Episode 1, they were originally called Mini-Striders. Alyx's mom survived Black Mesa. Though I think this is unlikely, it is not fully impossible, though there is nothing that really speaks to this. Purple Zen Crystals. While usually Zen Crystals are orange/yellowy, you come across purple ones in Half-Life Decay. These were originally to be seen while fighting the Nihilanth, though later cut. J-Test. The MP5 was very originally planned to return in Half-Life 2. as this model can be found in the files called J-Test, the name coming from one of the developers, J. Stelly. Adrian died in stasis. We don't know what stasis truly means in Half-Life. Do you age? Are you conscious? Do you even exist? We would need to know more details to answer this question, but given that he hasn't been seen in a while, perhaps this happened. Then again, Gordon was gone for 20 years as well. Vortigons know they are in a video game. This is a theory started from one singular quote of the Vortigons. They say,
"How many are there in you?"
Which makes it sound like they know Gordon is being controlled by a player. The Vortigons are all-knowing from all we've experienced. Thus, who knows? Could be. Not a whole lot speaking towards it though. Half-Life is a video game in Left 4 Dead's universe. Sometimes in the passing campaign of Left 4 Dead 2, Lewis will comment,
"Man, I feel like I'm Gordon Freeman,"
when equipped with a crowbar, thus meaning Half-Life exists as a video game in Left 4 Dead. Liminal spaces. You all know what liminal spaces are. It has been chewed through by every single Valve game-oriented YouTuber on this platform. I won't bother reiterating. I also don't know why it's on this list. The source engine is good at liminal spaces, though Half-Life 2 specifically, I don't know. Perhaps take a look at this empty train station as an example. City 17 pre-Common Invasion map. Lots of people have created edited versions of Half-Life 2 maps, showing what they may have looked like before the Common Invasion. Most of them can be found at the Gmod workshop. I recommend checking them out on your own. They're pretty fun to explore. Dog is sentient. Can AI be sentient? If yes, Dog definitely is. If you think the answer to the question, can AI be sentient, is no, he still is in my heart. After the 7-hour war, residents of City 17 burned bodies to clear space, explaining the burnt bodies you find in the canals and other areas of City 17. This is not implausible, though it seems more likely that the burnt bodies are remnants of a cut enemy of Half-Life 2 called the Cremator, which his job it was to burn the dead bodies laying around the streets of Half-Life 2. HEV sued as a cosmetic in Final Fantasy 15. This exists. I don't assume this means anything more than a simple cross-promo though. City 14 was shelled. A citizen at the train station mentioned City 14 existing. We have absolutely no clue what happened there. But perhaps it was shelled, why not? Left 4 Dead's director AI was meant to be in Half-Life. For anyone unaware, Left 4 Dead 1 and 2 feature a so-called director. This director takes a look at game events and how the players are progressing and uses this info to determine spawns of loot and infected. This is why Left 4 Dead feels so balanced towards people of all skills basically. If you suck at the game, less zombies and special infected will spawn, but medkit spawns are increased. And just so the other way around for skilled players. A really awesome feature. While it's unknown if this was supposed to be in Half-Life as well, there does exist a slimmed down version of a director in the retail game. Basically, when making a map, you are able to spawn a loot entity called Item Dynamic Resupply. You can also put these in crates. You then have to place on an entity that controls the amount of each resource the player is supposed to have. Say for example the player should always have 50% suit battery but they currently have 0. The Item Dynamic Resupply or the crate filled with this entity will most likely create a suit battery. It's way more slipped down and manual, but it's somewhat similar to the director of Left 4 Dead. Rocket launch was useless. There are 2 rocket launches in Half-Life. For the first one, this seems like the case at first, though it is explained that it was somehow needed in the process of trying to close the rift. The second one was successful from all that we know. We saw it closing the super portal at the end of episode 2. 7-hour war could have been prevented if HCCU wasn't ordered to kill the scientists. If the HCCU came in to only kill aliens and let the scientists continue their work, there is a chance they would have found a way to stop the portal storms after Gordon killed in the Healand. Though this is just guessing once more. And perhaps the Combine would still have been aware of Earth due to the portal storms even happening at all. Borealis never left Aperture Science. This is most likely untrue. We see the empty dock at Aperture Science. Unless of course there were multiple docks and the one where it's stationed at just so happened to get frozen over. Gravity Gun in Lab Rat comic. On page 13 of the Lab Rat comic, we see that Lab Rat was, among other things, working on the gravity gun. Lab Rat is also otherwise known as Doug Redman, a mysterious person whom we never directly meet in Portal 2 but find lots of hideouts of, seemingly one of the last survivors in Aperture Science, at least for a while. Non-mechanical reproduction simulation. This is mentioned as a reward for the civil protection if they manage to complete their mission. If you know what this means, you know. Weapon_Alex gun. This is the weapon Alex is seen carrying in Half-Life 2. It's not usable by the player. It is also to note that in Half-Life 2, we encounter one singular other character that also uses this weapon. And that is this citizen during the elevator ride at Eli's lab. JB Mod Fizzgun. JB Mod is a mod similar to Gmod, though to be fair, it did release before Gmod did. In fact, JB Mod is credited to be the first source mod ever. It features a Fizzgun similar to the one you know from Gmod in the Half-Life 2 tech demos. Before being turned to the gravity gun, the Fizzgun was to allow the player to move objects around a bit more freely by providing them with seemingly infinite range. Not sure why exactly this entry is referring to JB Mod though. SMG has no slot for grenade launcher. This is true. The SMG truly does have no grenade launcher slot. This simply seems to be an oversight caused by the Half-Life 2 development being a bit too rushed. .357 holds zoom shot. You can fire weapons while zooming. You can, however, fire immediately after zooming. By equipping the 357 in zooming, then shooting as quickly as you can after releasing zoom, you can practically use it as a sniper. Paint can paint decals. A fun detail about paint cans in Half-Life 2 is that when you fire them at anything using the gravity gun, they will cause a splash of paint to appear. A really awesome detail. Alex voice recasting. In Half-Life Alyx, the voice of Alex was seemingly recast somewhat last minute. The trailer for the game even features some of her voice lines mixed with some other ones. In an interview with Tyler McVicker, Merle Dandridge, the original voice of Alex, tells that she doesn't know why she was recast. And I must say, the interview is so wonderful. She seems like the sweetest person ever and was so professional about the recasting and didn't seem mad at all. In fact, she was encouraging, while still noting that she loves the character of Alex and would be down to return if the opportunity is given. Valve's reason for the recast was due to Alex being younger in this prequel, that Merle would sound too old essentially. Now, obviously nothing but love to the new voice actress as well. Ozuyoma Akaga did a phenomenal job with her role as Alex. Seriously, she managed to get the cadence down really well and managed to replicate Alex's voice as good as it gets really. Though listening to some of the Merle Dandridge voice clips in the trailer, the reasoning of her sounding too old doesn't really seem to make sense. She sounds perfectly fine. There are people, I must say I include myself in these as well, that don't buy this reasoning. It seems like more was going on behind the scenes. It seems like we won't find out though. Again, nothing but love to Ozuyoma Akaga. She did a phenomenal job and has no part in this recasting. She was simply doing her job and did so perfectly. I hope we one day get to find out the true reason though. Level 4, underwater. We're starting to reach even deeper down the iceberg now, though still relatively close to the surface. The Vault. Heavy Half-Life Alyx spoiler warning. The Vault is basically what all of Half-Life Alyx is about. As the game progresses, we slowly learn more and more about what exactly is inside that vault. To skip the speculation Eli Russell and Alex did over the course of the game, it eventually turned out to be a prison built around the G-Man. Yes, the G-Man was not captured by traditional means. He was instead found and the vault got built around this place. It is also powered by Vortigons and their Vortessence, seemingly the only thing that is able to stop the powers of the G-Man. Something I personally never thought was possible, but that makes it even cooler. The vault also includes a bunch of strange, supernatural phenomena inside of it. It seems to have teared reality apart in the attempt to capture the G-Man. Transparent people, mirrored realities, flipped rooms. We did manage to mostly destroy it though in Half-Life Alyx. Counter-Strike is part of the Half-Life universe. Again, this is a could be, could not be situation. Counter-Strike these days seems to get more and more cartoony, especially with some of the skins they're adding. There are skins that make distinct references to Half-Life, though if you don't consider skins but only the game itself canon, sure, why not? It would basically only confirm terrorists existing. Real-time moss. At one point, Half-Life was to include real-time moss. This was to appear in sections that you would revisit. It honestly sounds like a cool concept, if a little extremely extra. But then again, being extremely extra in the detail is what made Half-Life 1 so great in the first place. Cancelled Half-Life 1 expansion. Just like Blue Shift, Opposing Force and Decay, Valve contracted the company 2015 to make a Half-Life 1 expansion. It was to be called Hostile Takeover. It would have gameplay and narrative similar to Half-Life, but the expansion pack would not feature any known places or characters. Here's where it gets interesting though. The game was to follow the player as they were being tested as a candidate for the G-Man. Mark Laidlaw described the player as a junior G-Man. This is what I meant earlier when saying that there is a slight implication that the G-Man might be Freeman from the future, as the term candidate and junior G-Man were used interchangeably here. So perhaps Freeman is actually in the process of becoming a G-Man, or at least was. I doubt this was the case past Half-Life 2 Episode 1's intro. The team worked with Valve to create the story. The game would utilize Team Fortress Classic characters. The game was first set in Black Mesa, and later at a different location called Allied Processing, a support facility for Black Mesa. This was a place where Zen mining would have been done by means of a huge portal. The Team Fortress characters were to exist as defenders in this facility. This expansion basically warrants a video of its own, as there is a whole lot we know about this expansion. But this was basically the gist of it. Half-Life 2 Survivor. Half-Life 2 Survivor is an arcade version of Half-Life 2. It would feature shorter play sessions, a point-based scoring system and exclusive content not found in the original game, some of that being cut content. It was primarily released in Japan for arcade use. The game would include story, battle and mission. This game also gave us the very first somewhat official Gordon Freeman model, the one that seems to have been used in the promotional images. The multiplayer component on the arcade machines is broken since 2010. Survivor has since been ported to PC in 2013 by several members of Face Punch, notably Murphy Black and Ben1066. Shepard died in Half-Life Opposing Force. No, he didn't. Unless one is to assume he died and dreamed the rest of the game. That would suck though. I don't see any point in the game where his death could be hinted at. Cut weapons from Half-Life 2 and Half-Life 2 Survivor. This seems to be referring to the Slam and Sniper Rifle, which are both weapons cut from Half-Life 2 that are included in Half-Life 2 Survivor. In fact, Survivor also includes an edited version of the cut Command Assassin. Same flickering light system. Valve has used the same flickering light code from the original Half-Life ever since it was made. It was even included in Half-Life Alyx. The system functions quite interestingly. You will basically get to write a pattern of light brightness in letters. A is fully dark and Z is fully bright. Each letter is 1 frame long. So if you were to write ZA, the game would repeat that and make the light flicker on and off once per frame. You are able to do a lot longer flicker patterns though, like ABCDEFG, HIJK, LMNOP, QRS, DUV, WXYZ, which would slowly enable the light over 26 frames and then start over. Combine will improve humanity's situation over time. This most likely isn't true. The Combine don't seem very humane. They most likely couldn't care less about humanity. I could perhaps see them leaving humanity alive after they are done stripping them of the resources, if there wasn't the resistance. But what's Earth with no resources? Doesn't seem like a bright future. Breen is a good guy. I think this depends on your definition. Is Breen fully heartless, like an actual evil human being? Most likely not. He simply wants to survive in the situation that was given to him by the Combine. But he certainly isn't a good guy. Him cooperating with the Combine and helping brainwash people into thinking that the Combine could possibly be there to help Earth out makes him a traitor to humanity. Which, perhaps this is objectively an evil human being. iPolyRobot in Half-Life 1 beta. While testing the first concepts of skeletal animation, a model was made called the PolyRobot. This model was made to crash by giving it too many polygons for the engine to handle. However, against everyone's expectations, it didn't crash the game. It was never planned to be seen in-game, simply made for Valve to boast about their engine, which is a quote of Valve. Alex's deaf boyfriend. At one point, Gabe Newell suggested that Alex had a crush on a hearing-impaired resistance member, so she programmed Doc with the knowledge of sign language so she could practice and easily communicate with them. Then this person went away, which left Alex and Doc communicating in sign language. All of these were concepts for Half-Life 2 Episode 3, something we never got to see. It would have been interesting though. Gabe Newell had the idea after discussing deafness and video games with 2 interpreters. Adrian Shepard. A fan favorite, the protagonist of Half-Life Opposing Force. We don't know what has happened to him after the events of Opposing Force. Perhaps he was reawakened in Ravenholm like Episode 4 planned it. He is actually one of the more developed protagonists. Included in the Opposing Force instruction manual were several diary entries made by Adrian Shepard prior to the Black Mesa incident. Skip to here if you don't care to hear these. Otherwise, I'm gonna read them out to you now. May the 3rd. Another typically hellish day at base camp. I'll be glad when this is over and I can get assigned a mission. There has been this really weird civvy spotted at the base. Rumor is he's from some government branch looking to recruit. Others say he's with some secret research group. I would jump at the chance to join. It would be cool just for a change and the adventure. May the 7th. I finally saw the government guy today. I am not sure he's a G-man, but he was wearing a really uptight suit and carrying a briefcase. He looked more like a lawyer or insurance agent to me. I did notice him checking me out. Several times throughout the day I spotted him just watching me during training. I wonder what he's up to. May the 9th. For weeks our drills have been the same crap day after day. Today we assemble for the morning run and our drill instructor tells us that we have 1 week to become experts at indoor strategic combat. We will be spending every day this week at the combat simulation facility. As far as I know, this is a specialized training not taught in the boot camp. What I want to know is if this is to test our ability to adapt or if we are being ready for a specific mission. Time will tell. May the 12th. The rumors have been flying since our indoor combat training began. Most of my peers are convinced that we are being primed for a mission. No one can agree what the mission is. I have heard the name Black Mesa facility thrown around a lot, but I have no information about the place. The rumors are that some top secret research is going on there. Doesn't sound too exciting to me. May 15th. The rumor has been confirmed. We are being trained for a mission at the Black Mesa facility. All I know is that the place is being used by scientists who are doing some kind of new research. I can't imagine what we will be needed for. We were told today to be ready in case it happens tomorrow. I don't know what it is, but the whole thing is a little strange. I kind of hope it doesn't happen. The mission doesn't seem to have much excitement potential. I'd rather hold out for something with more likelihood of combat. Barnacles only eat human NPCs. This was the case in Half-Life 1, later changed in Half-Life 2. A further difference being that you are able to save humans when they get grabbed by a barnacle. In Half-Life 2, NPCs immediately ragdoll and thus die. They also grab whatever you put in front of their tongues basically, though they will spit it out if they don't like it. You can also kill barnacles by having them eat poison headcrabs or antlion workers. Gordon is responsible for the attack on Black Mesa East. This isn't fully out of the question. Perhaps the Combine followed Gordon because they somehow knew where he was planning to go. I think it's way more likely that Mossman was the one that told the Combine about Black Mesa East though. Beta map remnants. Many maps in the retail game of Half-Life 1 include big remnants of the beta. Same goes for Half-Life 2. I will be stealing a great video made by Vector I will tell you about all of them, so I'll only show you a couple of them instead. Go check out Vector's video though. Chumtoad. The Chumtoad was originally just a cut enemy of Half-Life 1, later becoming an Easter egg in both Opposing Force and Blue Shift. In Opposing Force, right before you enter the room where you see Freeman entering the teleporter, shoot at this vent. After you do enough damage to it, the vent right next to it will break and out of it will come a Chumtoad. This fella can't do anything special, it's just kinda cute. It's seen again in Blue Shift. After getting your gun and collecting all the ammo, You have to shoot every single bullet you receive into this box in your locker. Only if you truly fire each bullet into it, it will open, and you'll see a jump toad once again. Then, later on in Blue Shift, once you're in Zen, you can swim down this pit, break open a side path, and then get into Jump Toad's lair. The 3 jump toads that you find in this room teleport away shortly afterwards. You'll also find some ammo for the snark slaying here. Black Mesa Classic. Now here's a crazy mod. You know how Black Mesa is a remake of Half-Life 1? One that drastically overhauls graphics and levels and basically everything? Black Mesa Classic aims to bring all these changes back into Gold Source. There's actually a playable demo and it seems like this mod is still being developed. I am excited to hear about it in the future. Gina Cross and Colette Green. We've talked about these before. Here are some fun details about them though. Colette, for example, enjoys shooting enemies. She utters demented laughs when she starts attacking and defeats enemies. Gina has a more calm demeanor and sounds more pragmatic. Colette is 31 and Gina is 25 years old. Gina's original model was based on Mona Lisa Guthrie, an office manager at Valve at the time and sister of John Guthrie, one of the game's level designers. The holographic entity of her seen in Black Mesa is thus called Mona. You can also hear Gina Cross being mentioned by the Black Mesa announcement system in the beginning of Half-Life 1, in a message that states,
Dr. Cross, call 729, please.
Also as mentioned, Gina was found dead in opposing force. Another fun fact, Colette Green actually returned to the character as recently as a couple years ago for a fan-made opposing force sequel called Through the City. She is also voiced by the same person, Lani Minella. Awesome to see the original voice actors doing this. Cut Galaxy Exploration. There were plans at one point during Half-Life 2's development to have the G-Men take Gordon to multiple places across the galaxy to fulfill tasks. This wasn't developed very far, but sounds interesting. Gus. Gus is the name of the forklift driver seen in Half-Life 1. To quote Mark Laidlaw, I wasn't aware his name was Gus. That's how little backstory he has. Gus is seen 3 times in the entire game of Half-Life. 2 times right at the beginning of Half-Life 1 and once a little later. He's also seen in Blue Shift and in Decay, though in the latter only as an image on a wall. Half-Life Uplink. Half-Life Uplink is a demo of Half-Life 1. It was a free download and it takes place in an alternate timeline. It was created to both introduce new players to Half-Life and to give current Half-Life players a brand new experience. Uplink was added to the Half-Life 1 Steam release in the recent 25th anniversary update, so you can go and play it now. Half-Life Day 1 demo. Day 1 is an initial pre-release demo of Half-Life. It was designed exclusively for partnerships to be bundled with devices like sound cards, graphics cards and game controllers, but also later sold as part of the Half-Life Initial Encounter compilation. This demo ends at the end of We've Got Hostiles. It is to note that this is not Half-Life Uplink. Half-Life Initial Encounter. The compilation just mentioned. Half-Life Initial Encounter includes the Half-Life Day 1 demo and a standalone version of Team Fortress Classic. A rather weird combo. In Half-Life Day 1, Barnacles ate Vortigaunts. Somewhat true. Vortigaunts in Day 1 include a barnacled animation, but it went unused. Spore launchers are baby shock troopers. This is true. Spore launchers are otherwise referred to as baby shock troopers. Spore launchers are somewhat tadpoles of shock troopers. Sprite. These things can be seen in Half-Life Opposing Force. It's a harmless flying ball of light that seems to be guiding Adrian Shepard. At the end, it is shown that all of these are heading towards the Gene-World portal, apparently acting as energy conduits to construct the gate to the border worlds. Also, Sprite is just the name for entities that display a texture in Half-Life. But this sprite is specifically referring to the worlds of Opposing Force, most likely. Technically, the Vortigaunt is the first enemy Gordon Freeman faces. Though the very first teleportation to Zen, where you get to see a bull squid, if you look very carefully once the resonance cascade starts, you very first see Vortigaunts teleporting into the test chamber for very short moments. These aren't hostile in that moment, but they are, very technically speaking, the first enemy you encounter, if you classify creatures usually seen as hostiles as enemies. Survivors in Ravenholm. We occasionally hear people crying or screaming in Ravenholm, which indicates that there are more survivors other than Father Grigori. We never get to see this though, so this is unconfirmed. Tentacle had a weird purple thing. When taking a look at this concept art, you see this weird purple thing in the middle. It's unknown what exactly this was planned to be, though maybe some sort of main body of the tentacles, as that one scientist is seen being dragged down into the pit, perhaps to a mouth of sorts. Texture sources. One of the texture artists of Half-Life, Karen Laur, has shared a ton of texture sources of theirs. It's really surreal seeing these images when you've only seen them in games for so long. Unpublished Steam trading cards. Steam has a trading card system. If games choose to implement it, they will allow the player to collect cards of their game, which they can then trade with friends or sell/buy. Half-Life 2 features them, though Half-Life 1 doesn't. They were once planned to exist though. The designer of these cards, David Thaney, shared his thoughts after being hit up via email. He theorizes that they went unused due to them looking too modern to be recognized as Half-Life 1 images. These look really cool. You would have had to save Gordon Freeman in Half-Life Decay. Half-Life Decay originally was planned to feature 12 missions. It ended up only including 9 though. One of these cut missions was to involve the 2 protagonists saving Gordon Freeman from the military at the trash compactor. While not 100% certain, it is likely that if the player waited too long to kill the military, they would eventually shoot and kill Gordon. By killing the military first, we get the canon events, which is Gordon Freeman being unconscious but not dead at the trash compactor. I personally really would have loved for this to be included, because Gordon not being killed before getting thrown in the trash compactor always seemed like a weird plot hole. Apache doesn't fly away in C0A0C. If you are to no-clip and watch closely, you'll notice that the Apache just stays there, idle. I'm not sure how exactly this is noteworthy though. Bull Chicken. Bull Chicken was the original name for the bull squid and the entity is still called so. The Bull Chicken is also a creature seen in Crack Life, a mod in Half-Life that aims to make the experience of Half-Life 1 as miserable as possible, but also slightly funny. In that mod, it's just a bull squid with a chicken on top of it. C1A1C Secret Gate Mule Room. In Half-Life 1, whenever enemies were teleported in from Zen, they would be placed in a box outside of the map and wait to be teleported in. In the map C1A1C, the one with the large freight elevator, if you no-clip into this box and turn on your flashlight, you will find the Box of Gaben. This is also, I'm pretty sure, the only time this texture is ever seen in Half-Life. Censored robot grunts. In the German version of Half-Life 1, the HECU get replaced by robot grunts. An absolutely awful censorship that is part of an awful era of gaming in Germany that lasted up until a few years ago mostly. Games used to be censored in Germany. No blood, no gifs, no death animation, no soldiers. Half-Life 1 sucked. Thankfully this is no longer the case. It is to note though that the robot grunts do look pretty cool, even if not fitting into the Half-Life 1 story. Censored Otis model. For some incredibly odd reason, the model of Otis was censored in the German version of Half-Life Opposing Forces Capture the Flag mode. Now, some censorship I can somewhat get behind, but why the hell was this poor guy censored? It's just a regular old guy. Quiet and Gina were meant to wear normal HEV suits. This is true and can be seen in the Half-Life Decays PS2 trailer. I love low quality videos so much. Communication Center. The Communication Center is a cut chapter of Half-Life. The goal was to lower the security status of the center in order to enter the reactor lab. Portions of this chapter were later reused in Half-Life, Uplink and Decay. A playable version can be found in the Half-Life Alpha. This and the X-Lab chapter were most likely related in some way. Dank and Scud. Dank and Scud are the main characters of The Adventures of Dank and Scud, an online comic. The 6th issue is called It's a Wonderful Half-Life and is set in the world of Half-Life. It's a pretty fun comic overall, I suggest you to give it a read. It definitely doesn't fit into Half-Life lore, it doesn't try to do so either. Half-Life Adrenaline Pack. This is a pack of 3 games. Half-Life Game of the Year Edition, Half-Life Opposing Force and Team Fortress Classic. It was released in 1999. Just another of the many re-releases of Half-Life. Half-Life Baby promos. There's this weird promotional image for Half-Life featuring the image of a baby. Pretty creepy. Half-Life Source Beta Leak. The Half-Life Source Beta Leak is the same as the retail one, just a lot worse. It has a lot of early development maps of both Half-Life Source and the Half-Life 2 Beta. The most interesting thing we got from this leak were the maps known as Half-Life Abridged, which combine all of Half-Life 1 into a short 10-minute bunch of maps. This was very most likely created for testing, as to test all of the game's mechanics without having to play through the entire game. Half-Life Hidden Entity Names and Jokes. In the level editor, you're able to freely choose names for entities. A ton of these have jokes built into them. There are too many to list. There are videos that showcase all of these. Here's just one example though. This Gargantua is called That Dickhead, and an invisible wall is called Dick Clip. In the E3 1998 build, Mark Laidlaw voiced all of the scientists. During the development of Half-Life, any dev would step in to do temporary voice lines before they were professionally done by someone else. Have a look at Mark Laidlaw's version of the scientist scream. Isabel Teasley, cut character. Isabel Teasley is the daughter of Harry Teasley, an artist and designer at Valve. She was also planned to be a character of sorts, as a name tag with her name can be found in the files. Multiplayer level signatures. Across all the Half-Life games, you are able to find lots of watermarks of developers and maps. Take for example this watermark found in Half-Life 1 in this vent here. You will see Rilla spelled out in brushes, which is the last name of Dave Rilla, a game designer at Valve. Or Dario Casali's signature, which can be found in every multiplayer map made by him. Another one is found under Adrian Shepard's dormitory in Opposing Force. This one spells out DMM 1999, which are the initials of David Michael Mertz, and 1999 being the release year for Opposing Force. Nightmare.mpeg. In some physical copies of Half-Life, a file called nightmare.mpeg can be found. There is at least one report of this on Reddit. It is most likely that this was supposed to be a trailer for Nightmare on Elm Street. Advertisements in games weren't rare at the time. Oxygen. A very general title, though I believe this is referring to the cut oxygen tank in Half-Life, also known as Scuba. It is still found in the Half-Life game files and can be spawned, GIF item air tank being the command. It would refill the touching player's oxygen. When destroyed, it causes a small flameless explosion. Pit drones used to have mind control chips inserted on them. At some point in Opposing Forces development, pit drones were planned to be wearing a grey device behind the forehead, which was to be used by shock troopers to control their minds and use them as scouts or slaves. Similar to the Vortigern collars, they will also force them to fight with the device in case they try to flee. Citadel is alive. The core of the Citadel does seem like a beating heart of sorts. The Combine are able to create synths, so perhaps this could be a thing, though I don't think this is very likely to be the case, but I'm very much ready to entertain it. Preview picture area. In Half-Life 1's old menu there was a preview image for changing video options. It is not an area seen anywhere in any game. It turns out that the area shown is of an early version of the Airstrike map. Escalation, another YouTuber, made a video about this map in which he also recreated. You can download it in his video's description. Redwood's Half-Life preview. This is such an old entry. There exists a bunch of text describing what Half-Life is in a very well written format. Like this Redwood did many previews similar. I'm not able to find any info on this though. The texts are there, and they simply consist of a preview description of Half-Life. No idea who or what Redwood is. Sergeant Harrington. This refers to a cut texture of Half-Life 1. You might know of Dr. Newell's in Dr. Van Buren's office in Office Complex, a reference to Gabe Newell and Bill Van Buren. There is an unused sign of Sergeant Harrington, a reference to Mike Harrington. Shock Trooper language. Shock Troopers actually have their own language, one that is fully written down. Here are all the things it says. If you were to learn these, you could actually have an advantage. Shock Troopers were orange. Looking at very old promo art, Shock Troopers have a more orange look. Very much different from the green ones we eventually got. Perhaps these orange ones were to be a desert variant of theirs. Soccer ball secret. At the beginning of Half-Life Blue Shift, there is a soccer ball that can be found beneath the tram tracks. If any of you have ever played soccer before, or football as it's actually called, you'll know that you'll always end up shooting the ball somewhere you'll have to climb down or up to. Perhaps this is a reference to that. Sprites were meant to be fairies. There are 3 unused variations of the sprite, including one depicting a cartoon fairy. Perhaps just a joke, but maybe actually the original idea for the sprites. The Mesa Times. The Mesa Times is an in-house newspaper in Black Mesa. It is seen throughout the start of Blue Shift. A scientist is seen reading it while waiting for his laundry and one while waiting for the train. There's not really anything distinguishable on the paper, aside from a weather section and an image of workers. The office in the box art office was in the game at one point. There is this office to be seen on one of the cover arts. And yeah, this seems to be an image of an early office map made for Half-Life 1. I don't suppose they went ahead and created a new level just for the cover art. I couldn't find it in any alpha playthrough though, to be fair. Perhaps I missed it though. White Forest attack was a diversion. This is a somewhat scary theory. This would mean that the Combine are planning something way bigger and were only using the White Forest attack as a distraction. Perhaps preparing a trip to the Borealis? I think this theory is intriguing. Combine created the Green Flu. The Green Flu is the zombie virus of Left 4 Dead. Now, while I could swear the following statement was confirmed somewhere, I can't seem to find the source. I once heard that the Green Flu was confirmed to have originated from Zen, but I can't find the origin of this quote. So here's a fun theory. What if the Combine's way to wipe out a huge chunk of the population was by planting the Green Flu virus in the USA, thus it being X'd out on the globe seen in Half-Life Alyx? Also confirming that both take place in the same universe. This would of course mean that Lewis saying, "I feel like Gordon Freeman," would either be referring to the actual Gordon Freeman for some reason, or to another character of the same name that is also known to wield a crowbar. Another way to perhaps explain this though is the Left 4 Dead world simply being in another universe of the multiverse, something that seems to be somewhat confirmed at least in Half-Life. The existence of the multiverse, that is, due to Zen acting as a border world between worlds, aka dimensions. In this scenario, the Combine could have planted the Green Flu virus as a way to empty the planet of humans before extracting its resources. Advisor that killed Eli took a copy of his brain. The advisor was obviously able to escape after killing Eli. What if perhaps the plan of this advisor was to steal Eli's brain? This could perhaps speak to the theory of the Combine vs G-Men war, that perhaps they knew that Eli knew something about the G-Men and they needed the information. J.J. Abrams' Half-Life movie. For like 10 years there have been talks about a Half-Life and Portal movie made by J.J. Abrams, but it never got anywhere thus far. In 2021, it was confirmed that the Portal movie is still very much planned. The Half-Life movie less so. I fear that Half-Life really isn't a game that can be made into a movie. Combine are an alternate universe Aperture Science. Perhaps, but it seems incredibly unlikely. There is nothing speaking towards this and nothing speaking against this. Only the question of why remains, as I don't see this being a very intriguing story point. Combine are future humans. This could be possible, perhaps humans from another universe that are a couple thousand or million years more advanced than us. Half-Life Alyx number station. At the beginning of Half-Life Alyx, as discovered by Moose of Doom 23 on Reddit, by turning the radio in a very specific way you can reach a number station. Something also later heard on another radio in the game, though only for a moment. This could maybe be an Easter egg referring to number stations of real radios which were often used by spies. Some believe this to be an ARG, though Game has reportedly replied to an email saying that there is no ARG. Real Innsbruck teleportation experiment. Eli mentions in Black Mesa East that Gordon was chosen for the job at Black Mesa over Mossman because he was there when the Innsbruck experiments happened. The Innsbruck experiments are actual real-life teleportation experiments that took place in 1997. There is also a Half-Life 2 soundtrack called The Innsbruck Experiment. Here are the details. guy talking about killing hunters with his bare hands is telling the truth. The guy that talks about the AR3 in White Forest talks about how he uses his bare hands to kill hunters. While he is made to sound like an obnoxious liar, what if he is actually telling the truth? Personally, I believe him. Russell was turned into a stalker. We obviously have no idea what happened to Russell past Half-Life Alyx, so this could very well be the case. Perhaps it would explain why he's never mentioned in any title past Half-Life 2. They surely would rather forget about this being a thing, since being turned into a stalker is such an incredibly gruesome thing. Black Mesa is based off of Area 51. While most likely an inspiration, it's never clearly stated that this was the case, neither that it was actually based off of Area 51. It being in a desert and having some kind of activity related to aliens, or at least speculation of this for the outside public, makes this very likely to be true. G-Man's ultimate goal is to combine the advisors with the Vortigons, creating one of the most powerful beings in the universe. I mean, yeah, sure, why not? Sounds intriguing. I feel like he would include himself in the equation as well though. Maybe though he's an advisor himself, as previously discussed. What would be his goal afterwards though? Definitely interesting, though nothing speaks to this. Eli's Harvard shirt. Eli most likely studied at Harvard, due to his sweater. Gigantic Half-Life Alyx spoiler incoming. Fun fact about this, at the end of Half-Life Alyx, once the ending of episode 2 gets shown once more, Eli originally incorrectly wore a Harvard sweater instead of the plain sweater he was seen wearing in that scene. This was fixed 2 months after release, though it is to know that his wedding ring is still missing. G-Man is Valve. Some believe that the G-Man is basically just Valve, talking directly to the player and simply introducing and ending games in a way that somewhat fits into the lore. This is basically true, but not confirmed in lore. Half-Life 2 Gordon Freeman in third person. When in third person in Half-Life 2, Gordon Freeman looks like this. This is the Half-Life 1 Gordon Freeman model with a singular dark texture. Ninjas. Nowhere in Half-Life's entire development were ninjas ever talked about. Is this perhaps referring to the assassins of Half-Life 1 or Combine assassins of Half-Life 2? Were there any ninjas in Half-Life that I missed? Well, to be fair, they wouldn't be ninjas if I did ever see them. Synths are what make up most of the Combine army. The Combine seem to have a vast knowledge of modifying creatures and incorporating mechanical parts in them. Take the Strider, Gunship, Hunters, Crab Synths, Mortar Synths, or basically any other object creatures for example. Half-Life Caged. Caged is a really fun Half-Life 1 mod available on Steam for free. It consists of a player escaping out of a prison. I'll probably do a video on it someday. Level 5, The Depths. We are reaching really deep cuts into the Half-Life lore now and even bigger mysteries. XCCR. XCCR is a science scene in Half-Life 2 right after leaving the train station. Going on XCCR.com, you will find a website where you can enter random numbers. It's some kind of ARG game that has not been solved yet. Not a ton of progress has been made thus far. The entire storyline is a simulation inside Gordon's brain. So I would hate for this to be true. And I think Mark Laidlaw wouldn't do this. Very unlikely, basically. The G-Man is an imagination. I see this being somewhat plausible, though also unlikely. Nothing speaking towards or against this really, except that it seems to appeal to multiple people. 100% confirmed are Gordon, Alex and Eli, who speak about him in episode 2. Alex being able to recite words given to her by the G-Man. Galactically huge Half-Life Alyx spoiler incoming. Due to the Combine having captured the G-Man in Half-Life Alyx, this is confirmed untrue. Trans 6 from the Half-Life 2 beta is a distorted recording of a Soviet female cosmonaut burning alive. There are conspiracy theories that during the space race in the 60s, some cosmonauts were lost in space. These are alleged recordings of the cosmonauts' final words. I won't play them to you in case they are real, but the Trans 6 sound file does sound pretty similar to some of these. It is unconfirmed if they actually use these recordings. r/Half-Life. r/Half-Life is the Reddit community for Half-Life. It consists of a bunch of people waiting for Half-Life 3. That's about it. 1997 Sierra Press Party. This was a real event which included a couple of computers for people to play Half-Life. There's also a really old Gabe Newell interview from this party. Not at all suggesting that Gabe Newell hasn't aged anything but gracefully, but damn, look at this dude! Alien Grunt face designs. Alien Grunts have a rather detailed face that you probably never took a close look at. Looking somewhat similar to Vortigons, which makes sense given that they are from the same world. The face has a ton of teeth and a large mouth. There were also a few planned variations. Why these were cut is unknown. You're not supposed to be here. This is both the name of a soundtrack of Half-Life 2 and an unused G-Man quote. It is heard in the beginning of the episode 2 trailer, but never seen in any game. In the trailer it was said to Alex, who seemed to be stuck in stasis.
You're not supposed to be here. Forget about all this.
A pretty interesting piece of dialogue. It coming from the G-Man, making it even more creepy. Barney used to have a flashlight as a weapon. Seen in a very early trailer of Half-Life Blue Shift, there seems to indeed be a flashlight weapon. This is not seen in the retail game. Probably cut for the better, though it is to note that he is seen with a flashlight equipped from Gordon's POV, most likely why this was planned in the first place. Aleph. Aleph is one of the names of the protagonist for the game that Valve was developing alongside Half-Life, Prospero. There are a few concept arts for her. The game of Prospero itself is seen later on the Iceberg, so we'll get to the actual game later. Cancelled GameCube port. After the PS2 port, there were plans to release Half-Life 1 on the GameCube as well. It was eventually decided that a port like this most likely wouldn't be profitable and thus was cancelled. Grace, Washington. Grace is the smallest town in Washington and also only has a population of 12 people. I have no clue how this is supposed to relate to Half-Life. Even looking around the place on Google Maps, I couldn't find anything interesting. Greg Kuma. Greg Kuma is a designer who has been working at Valve since 1997. He left Valve to work as a freelancer some time after they shipped Half-Life and still work with them on some occasions, then later rejoined Valve. The name of Kuma is seen on Locker alongside many other developer names, and also became the name for one of the characters in Half-Life VR, but the AI is self-aware. Among other things, Greg Kuma helped co-op with the name Valve, designed the company's website, and then led Valve's first cancelled video game project, Prospero. Half-Life November 1st, 1998 prototype. This build is only 4 days older than the retail release. It's unknown where it came from, and it only has the slightest changes from the retail release. Like, not even noteworthy stuff, literal bytes changed. Half-Life Dreamcast port had multiple Sega references. Mafitimus Blackimus made a great video about this. Basically, there were plans for multiple Sega references to be included in the Half-Life 1 Dreamcast port, like for example seeing the Dreamcast disc or Dreamcast VMUs in crate gips. There are a few more minor things, but these are the most interesting ones. Half-Life pre-release zoo map. I could only find one image of this. Basically, zoos in video games refer to maps used to show off everything of something. In most cases, models. Most games have them. Half-Life 1 had them as well. Half-Life Alpha chapters. The playable chapters in the Alpha are the Portal Device, the Office Warrants, the Security Complex, Alien Research Lab, Communication Center, and Reactor Lab. Most of these ended up evolving to a different chapter. The Portal Device became Unforeseen Consequences, the Office Warrants became Office Complex, the Security Complex was cut, but the general concept was brought back and We've Got Hostiles. Alien Research Lab evolved to the lab seen in Questionable Ethics. The Communication Center had a lot of its aspects be reused, and Reactor Lab evolved into the Lambda Reactor Core and Lambda Core. Half-Life Guard Duty. This was the original title for Half-Life Blue Shift. Blue Shift is the vastly superior name, due to also being a term used in physics, just like Half-Life, Opposing Force, and Decay. Half-Life Preliminary Findings. This is a CD-ROM containing early Half-Life media that was used to promote Half-Life. It came bundled with Diablo Hellfire and other Sierra titles in late 1997. Headless Grunt. The Half-Life SDK contains a number of cut remnants of the HCCU, the Headless Grunt being one of them. At some point during development, the player was to be able to decapitate soldiers with headshots, leaving behind only the lower jaw and tongue. This headless variation can be found in the model files. Heavy Weapon Grunt / Human Sergeant. This is a cut character as well, but I'll mention it. There was originally intended to be a HCCU that would wield a minigun and smoke a cigar. One of my favorite cut characters. Inside the G-Man's briefcase. While we don't know for sure how canon this information is really, you are able to no-clip inside the briefcase in Half-Life 1 and see its contents. Something that is not possible in Half-Life 2 onward. I'm just gonna show you the detector file instead. It appears to show some kind of electrical ID with text on it. Also a pistol and a document. The pistol specifically being very unlike the G-Man in my opinion. That's why I think this is no longer canon. We're gonna get into a very heavy Half-Life Alyx spoiler now. Seriously skip this if you haven't played it yet. Once we reach the ending of Alyx, the G-Man actually hands Alyx his briefcase, which leads to that one scene. I know someone forgot to skip, so I'm not gonna mention it exactly. You know what I'm talking about though. I assume him handing Alyx the briefcase wasn't really because he needed to, rather simply to show that he is extending an offer of sorts. Perhaps it was him giving his power to Alyx for a short moment. Who knows? Ivan the Space Biker color variant. In the alpha version there were 3 unused models with alternate skins for the color of Ivan the Space Biker's suit. Nowadays, thanks to the 25th anniversary update, you can choose Ivan as a multiplayer model in Half-Life and change his color to whatever you want. Kingpin. Okay, this is the actual last cut character I'll mention in this Iceberg. The Kingpin can still be found in the game files, simply missing its AI. The Kingpin would have used psionic attacks and defenses. It is about twice the height of an average person and has a massive brain filling its entire body. It was planned to at least be found in Zen in some case. It is rumored that it would have been unable to be hit by missile weapons due to its psionic defenses. The concept of the Kingpin was later reused for the Alien Command Soldier, which is another cut enemy, and the Command Advisor, also sharing its worm-like design and 2 front limbs. I think this enemy is one of the most interesting ones. You could find it in quite a few mods, most notably Half-Life Echoes, which I think perfectly implemented it. In Half-Life Echoes there seems to be some kind of future-seeing being, which I think is incredibly interesting. Multicolored Gargantuas. There were plans for Gargantuas to exist with multiple different colors. Pink skin with green stripes, orange skin with blue stripes, and a purple skin with green stripes. The final model also had yellow stripes originally. multicolored HEV suit. As seen on Gina Cross and Colette Green, they both also come equipped with an HEV suit of a different color. There were also unused red, green and blue versions in the Half-Life Alpha on Ivor the Space Biker. You could also choose different colors for the HEV suit in the multiplayer of Half-Life 1 as well. If this entry is referring to HEV suits that have multiple colors on them at once, this has no proof at all. Pin-up images. There were quite a lot of these in the Half-Life Alpha, all of which were cut in the end. Quiver. The original codename for Half-Life was Quiver, named after the Arrowhead military base from Stephen King's novella The Mist, which served as an early inspiration for the game. Other names that were planned for Half-Life 1 were Dirt, Lead and Screwed. I'm really glad they went with Half-Life. Stark and Hornet guns were a late additions theory. I'm not sure what this theory is meant to entail. Perhaps they were, yeah, but why theorize about when a weapon was introduced to the game? I'm gonna hit you with something somewhat related though. At one point, the Snark was seemingly planned to play a more active role in Half-Life Alyx. There are many unused animations for it, like walking, jumping and being held. Stealth Bomber, a cut generic fighter aircraft from Half-Life 1. The model can still be found in the game files. It's based on the real-life F-117 Nighthawk, the real-life Gus. The creator of Gus, Steve Theodore, was inspired by a janitor in his college dormitory who was said to be famously cranky and would sport the same amount of facial hair stubble. X-Lab. As mentioned previously a couple of times, the X-Lab was planned to be a big part of the Half-Life campaign and was basically completely cut. Portal has Half-Life 2 weapons. If you enter Inputs 101 in the content Portal 1, you receive all weapons not from Half-Life 2. This is because Portal is a mod of Half-Life 2 and didn't bother to remove some of the Half-Life 2 contents it has. Project Borealis. Project Borealis was a project announced shortly after Episode 3 got released. It aimed to recreate the Episode 3 story as a game. However, there have been no updates since March of 2020. The game looked really promising. It was to be made using Unreal Engine 4 and it released quite a lot of development footage. While this project is not confirmed cancelled, I must admit I don't have high hopes for it to continue. Free TVs. The very first Half-Life 2 test level to ever be created is known as Get Your Free TVs. It was created when there was only a rough script of the game. The level consisted of a test sequence designed to highlight all the new created mechanics for the game and test the NPCs and physics, not to be included in the final product. The map consisted of rioting gas-masked citizens and Metro Corps sent to contain them. There would be APCs and tanks rolling down the street. Citizens would be throwing Molotov cocktails at vehicles. Other characters would loot stores and yell, "Get your free TVs." Paper physics. I must say I've heard this before, but I can't find anything about it. At one point, paper was to have its own physics, I believe. But I don't know really, I must admit. In the final game, there really isn't anything that behaves much like paper. Anti-science video. There was to be a video scene in Half-Life Alyx where Breen was to talk about science. He was to talk down on science, specifically using the Black Mesa incident as a bad example. Also praising the Combine because they helped get rid of the aliens. Basically just rewriting history. 0x Orion on YouTube restored this video somewhat faithfully. You can go check it out if you want to. Ravenholm was destroyed when the Citadel exploded. This is most likely to be true, given that Ravenholm was somewhat close to the Citadel, especially when given the view of the destroyed city in Episode 2. It would be weird for Ravenholm to not have been destroyed. Psalm 102:3. For my days are consumed like smoke, and my bones are burned as on hearth. This is that exact quote in the Bible. Grigory somewhat quotes this psalm in one of his voice lines, saying,
"For the days of my life have vanished like smoke, and my bones are parched like ash, and let all my impurities be as fuel for that fire until nothing remains but the light alone."
I am not a religious man, but reading up on Psalm 102, it is used in times of community crisis. In the Siddhas Sfas MS, this psalm is praised as a prayer for the well-being of an ill person. This mostly fits with Ravenholm. It's definitely a community in crisis, and a zombie can be classified as an ill person. Grigory seems to still have a connection to the people under the headcrabbed, and thus most likely wishes for their well-being. Dog was created by Aperture. Not true. He was created by Eli Vance almost 2 decades ago at the point of Half-Life 2 in order to both celebrate and protect his daughter. Perhaps one could argue that there may be an AI chip of Aperture Science hidden somewhere inside Dog, but that would be speculation. Lost Coast was a fever dream. Sounds like it makes sense. Some people consider Lost Coast as canon in this way. There is a mod, Half-Life Overcharged, which among many other things implements Lost Coast at the Coast chapter as a dream. It could maybe also be a random mission the G-Man sent you on. But yeah, if you want to somehow consider Lost Coast as canon, considering it a dream might be the way to go. By the way, as it hasn't been mentioned on the Iceberg yet, Lost Coast is a tech demo made as a Half-Life 2 level to test HDR. It's a fun about 20-minute playthrough. Aperture knew about Zen. This isn't unlikely to be true, given that they were also experimenting with teleportation and Zen seems to be useful for this. Portal 1 was also to originally end in Zen. As it didn't end up in the final game, this is only a theory. Blue Shift is the best game in the Half-Life series. This is an unpopular opinion among the Half-Life community. Not only is this opinion saying that Blue Shift is the best of the expansions, but the best game of the entire series. If this is your opinion, that's awesome. You will have a hard time navigating around Half-Life communities though, but that's the case for whatever opinion you may have. AR-3 hidden weapon. The community has dived deep into Half-Life files over the last decade or so. No AR-3 has ever been found, but perhaps who knows, maybe someday we will find it. Resonance Cascade is real and we are the real-life counterparts of the Combine, while ancient Egyptian gods were the resistance. Okay, let's get into conspiracy mode for this one. I'm not gonna question this entry at all, even though it is obviously completely made up. So let's try and interpret this. I think this theory is claiming that humans came from another dimension to Earth, instead of the evolution theory. This would mean that the Resonance Cascade caused humans to land on Earth after another species came before. Maybe this would be animals in our case. Egyptian gods would thus be the only true humans on Earth, who were then defeated by us, the Combine in the story. This would also assume that the Combine are to win in the Half-Life series. Sounds like a fun theory, though obviously not actually the case. XCCR.com has Half-Life 3 source code. As the ARG on XCCR.com has not been solved yet, who knows, this might be the case. As it was started only shortly after the release of Half-Life 2 though, even before the release of Episode 1, it is incredibly unlikely. Combine is being controlled by a higher entity. I personally love when games or movies reveal that there is an even bigger fish than previously thought. There is a chance that advisors are a higher entity than the Combine itself and merely use them as protection, or are something similar to gods to them. I somewhat hope there is a higher entity than the Combine in the Half-Life universe, though also very unlikely. Resistance is futile. Depending on how the Combine work, this is true. From all we know, the Combine might have billions of soldiers ready at their hands, and they obviously travel throughout the multiverse of some kind. Unless the Combine is split into many smaller groups that then go and attack other worlds, we would need to assume that there is some kind of strategy department of the Combine that is aware of Earth, and specifically, how bad the Combine are failing up until the end of Episode 2. The Combine wanted to open the super portal in order to call in support, which kinda leads us to believe that the Combine are rather split into groups and don't know a lot about each other. All just theory, of course. But the Combine could very well be large and planned out enough that resistance is indeed futile, unless maybe they have enough worlds at their disposal that they don't bother defending against one that managed to fight back in some capacity. Walter White is Gordon Freeman. Walter White is the protagonist of the series Breaking Bad, which I think all of you are aware of. They both do look kind of similar, don't they? What if Gordon Freeman studied chemistry instead of physics? What if Walter White studied physics instead of chemistry? Hallucinations. There is a leftover entity in all Source games since Alien Spawn, a prop that disappears once you look at it. You can give this a chance to happen, a visible time and a recharge time. While it isn't known for sure, I have two main theories personally as to what this prop entails. It's either just a remnant of early experimentation of hallucinations as done by Mark Laidlaw on the Trend 6 level, or it was supposed to be the prop used for the Borealis. Mark Laidlaw described the Borealis as an object that travels through time and space, and this hallucination effect could maybe be used to make this a reality. Red Bull Squid. There were at one point plans for a Red Bull Squid. This was planned for Half-Life 2. There is only this texture as a remnant. Level 6, bottom of the iceberg. While not at the actual peak of the bottom of the iceberg, we're now in really in-depth knowledge territory and even more ambiguous and mysterious theories. Freeman is the bad guy. Depending on how you play Half-Life 1, you could see Freeman as a bad guy. If you are to kill all scientists and security guards, that's definitely not something nice to do. But generally speaking, Freeman seems to be fighting for the greater good, thus making this an unlikely theory. Is the crowbar Barney gives us actually the same one? There is very little evidence on this topic. G-Man took our weapons at the end of Half-Life 1, thus meaning if anything it's him that has the crowbar. It is to know that at the end of Half-Life Blue Shift, we see a scientist using a crowbar to break open the gate so that they can drive off. Perhaps this is Gordon's crowbar. What doesn't help is that Blue Shift most likely ended a whole lot earlier than Half-Life 1, but perhaps G-Man took the crowbar and sent it back in time to this scientist, leading to Barney taking it. But this is unlikely. Barney also mentions in Episode 1, once he gives Gordon a crowbar for the second time, that he doesn't have many more of these. So it seems to imply that these are all different crowbars. Black Mesa incident was intentionally created by the scientists. It seems more likely that it was G-Man causing it. The scientists would all need to be in a deep conspiracy of wanting to destroy the planet, and furthermore, this would require that nobody let Gordon in on the secret, or even after the disaster struck. A rather unlikely event. Apple/Mac support. A port of Half-Life 1 for Mac OS and Linux was developed and released on Steam without any prior announcements in 2013. Both versions allow for crossplay with PC players and multiplayer. Barney model versions. It's unclear if this is referring to the first or second game. In Half-Life 1 we ever only really saw one Barney. Not counting the Otis version that was used, there was a model of Barney, not wearing a vest and helmet. Barney also has a different model in Half-Life 2 and Episode 1, the Episode 1 model being more roughed up. Blue Zombie. I don't think it is referring to this, but there is a security guard zombie in Half-Life 1. If you know anything else this might be referring to, let me know. CIA in Half-Life. Half-Life 1 was to originally include the CIA, most likely predecessors to the HCCU. There is concept art for a soldier, assassin, brain boy and female soldier. The soldier, also known as Butcher, was to have rapid spinning saw blades attached to his hands. The assassin was intended for stealthy behavior, equipped with a rifle that acted both as a machine gun and sniper rifle, throwing knives on his chest, a blade and hand grenades. He could swim underwater, see in darkness using night vision goggles and had a helmet-mounted infrared spotlight. He could also call for reinforcements using the headset in his helmet. The Brain Boy, otherwise known as Psionic Soldier, would have a thought-amplifying weapon. The female soldier was a fast and agile light attack character with the ability to jump great heights and perform karate kicks at close range. She has a small machine gun and a hand grenade. This character most likely ended up becoming the assassin. These were most likely cut in order to not have any real-world references, specifically not as bad guys. Cut 5-hour headcrab spawner. There's a headcrab spawner in Half-Life 1 that spawns a headcrab with a delay of 5 hours. It was cut though. In a video released by Marfitimus Blackimus, he uncut the spawner and showed what it looked like by actually leaving the game running for over 5 hours. Early Alien Slave model. Alien Slave being another name for the Vortigons seen in Half-Life 1. Similar to most characters seen in Half-Life, there's an early model of them. What cat? While talking about teleportation in Kleiner's lab, Barney mentions that he still has nightmares about that cat.
No.
Alex quickly asks,
What cat?
To which he receives no answer. Kleiner apparently tested his teleportation on a cat, which ended so disastrously that Barney still has nightmares about it. There is also a leaked model of this cat that was found in the 2016 Half-Life 2 repo leak. There is also an achievement of the same name that you get for breaking Kleiner's mini-teleporter. Equivocator. In the cut X-Labs of Half-Life 1, there was to be an audio lab used for sonic weapon research. Here, a blast-proof glass door was to prevent any further progress. The player was to use sound equipment nicknamed Equivocator, and adjust it in a way that would blow up this door by shattering it using sound. This would also cause a scientist in this room to burst. Jeff Keighley's build of Half-Life. Jeff Keighley is a prominent figure in the gaming scene, notably hosting the Game Awards show. He also playtests Half-Life each time Valve releases a game. He also has released several parts of his Final Hours Off series, in which he takes a close look at the development of games. He also did this with most Half-Lives. There is a chance Jeff Keighley could privately own a version of Half-Life we've never seen before. Not a sequel, just a version of Half-Life 1 or 2 for example. Half-Life Alpha.61. There is an unknown version of Half-Life 1. It was described in Sierra's internal notes. There is nothing noteworthy about these notes. It mentions console commands and it describes the final G-Man scene in the exact form we know it as today basically. We simply never got to see this version in action. Headless Zombie. In Half-Life DK, once you enter a room featuring some alien experiments, one of these experiments shows a headless zombie, which thus means that a human has been attacked and converted by a headcrab before and has been experimented with. A pretty interesting and gruesome detail. Higher quality gun textures in Day 1. Half-Life Day 1 had somewhat higher quality textures for weapons. Here's a size comparison for example. The texture was most likely shrinked in order to make the game compatible on more computers. Half-Life Tentacle.mpeg. This refers to a short demonstration video in which you see the tentacle in action. It looks mostly the same as the final version. Hostile Barney. As mentioned earlier, in early versions, Barney was planned to be hostile towards the player. You can still make them attack you by attacking them first or attacking another scientist. There is however no one hostile Barney count in the game. It is however to note that there is an unused value named Suspicious in guards in opposing force. If turned on, the guards would be hostile towards the player. Ichiame Muddy concept art. There is a concept art for the Ichiame with the name Muddy in the top left corner. It looks mostly the same to what we know it as today. It does feature some unused mechanics though in text form. It was to use its claws to drag itself across the murky bottom of the water. It was also to try and pull the player into the water if stood nearby. Liebes Scientist. There is an unused sound file for a scientist that was most likely planned to be named Liebes. It was to be seen in the same map as the tactical map. This is the sound file.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. You are Gordon Freeman, aren't you? The one they're expecting in the Lambda complex? If you can figure a way past that gargantua on the landing field and through the bunker door out there, you'll find yourself at the Lambda Lab's doorstep.
Prospero. This was the name for a game that was being developed alongside Half-Life by Valve. Eventually, they were moving features they had in Prospero over to Half-Life more and more, eventually leading to the game being scrapped. There are still some songs with the name Prospero in Half-Life. The game was to feature some kind of library that the protagonist took care of, which got attacked by an alien intelligence. The library being not a literal library, but more of a hub between many worlds. It was also to feature many different versions of the main character created by the alien race, which would need to be fought. The lore sounds absolutely crazy. It was also to feature multiplayer elements including a friends finder system and more. There is way too much we know about this game, so I'll probably end up making a full video on it, but you get the gist of it. The security keycard. This is referring to a cut item of Half-Life, the security keycard. It was to give the player access to doors locked with a card reader. In the alpha, you actually had to kill a security guard to enter previously inaccessible rooms. The card was cut late into development. It is also found in the final game. The model was later reused in the Team Fortress Classic map, Rock 2. In this appearance, they are team-colored. Slick-Face Barney. Slick is the name given to this scientist model. There is a security guard seen in only 2 development screenshots that shows Barney with the face of Slick. Valve's unpublished Space Marine game. There were plans for a Space Marine game. There is some concept art for it made by Harry Teasley. We don't know a lot about this project other than these couple of images. 0 Point Generator. While sounding somewhat similar to the 0 Point Energy Field Manipulator, also known as the Gravity Gun, it isn't known if there was any connection between the two. It is unclear what this weapon would have done, and it's also only mentioned twice in Half-Life Day 1's game files. The Half-Life Fandom Wiki, known for its great work in fanfiction, speculates that it could maybe have generated 0 Point energy, the lowest form of energy in quantum physics that is part of black holes. Headcrabbed.com. I couldn't find any info on what the site used to be, but right now it's an available domain for only $5,895. Shell is the last human on Earth. I think most people believe Portal 2 to take place somewhat like 50,000 years after Portal 2, which isn't something we know for sure. The developers have stated that it takes place between 50 and 50,000 years after Portal 1. If we are to go with anything over like 1,000 years, this isn't unlikely, especially given the post-Combine world. Even if they are to be defeated, chances of humanity's survival in the long term are slim due to the relatively low amount of water left on Earth. G-Man with a crow. At one point, the G-Man can be seen with a crow on his shoulder. Something that was patched out on Half-Life 2 update. It can be speculated that this comes from one of Mark Laidlaw's funny test maps. The crow might also have more importance though. The story of Odin, a god in Norse mythology, includes 2 crows which are sent out by Odin to gather information, thus explaining how he knows so much. Crows are quite frequently seen in Half-Life and might perhaps refer to this story, as in G-Man being Odin. Episode 3. Episode 3 never got released and we know very little about it. It was planned to release relatively shortly after Episode 2 and was meant to tie up the events of Half-Life 2 up to Episode 2. Here's an important distinction though. Episode 3 and Half-Life 3 are not the same. While there is a chance that Valve might just call the next title of Half-Life 3 because they don't care themselves anymore, Half-Life 3 implies a whole new story. You know how there was basically a reset between Half-Life 1 and Half-Life 2? How both, while somewhat similar, are completely different? Half-Life 3 was originally meant to do the same, though not planned ahead what that would mean exactly at that time yet. Episode 3, however, will simply serve to tie up the previous events and allow for such a reset. The cut multiverse ending of Half-Life Alyx. I can't find any source on this, but spoiler alert for Half-Life Alyx anyway. I must admit, I remember having heard about this as well and how the G-Man was gonna show Alyx the multiverse of Half-Life or something. But again, as stated, there's absolutely no proof or backing on this. Some kind of multiverse is surreal in Half-Life though, given the Combine comic from another dimension. If this really is exactly a multiverse is unknown. I kinda hope not. I personally am not a big fan of straight up multiverse plots. Level 7, the bottom. The very bottom of the iceberg, though not the actual final level. If you know about all these things, GG. The events of Half-Life 1 really happened. We don't know of a real-life resonance cascade and have thus far not seen any aliens invading. Though who knows? I'd assume the government would try and keep it secret if this is something that happened IRL. Alien breeding. Similar to how Moss was planned to spread in Level 2 Revisit, aliens were to breed in them as well, thus repopulating the area. It's unknown if this was to actually be seen or just implied, though I think the latter being more likely. Alternate Gordon Freeman model, most likely referring to this model. It also showcases the original red HEV suit. Brain Boy, the name of that one CIA unit. It's definitely the most mysterious of them all, with such a large head for seemingly a giant brain and a mysterious weapon. There truly is very little info on him and how he could have possibly fit into the lore. He also looks very much like those grey aliens you know from all kinds of media. HEV suit kept at the end of Half-Life 1. At the end of Half-Life 1, the G-Man says that he has took all of Gordon's weapons, but as for the suit, he has earned it. This means that the HEV suit was kept by the player at the end of Half-Life 1, but it's gone at the start of Half-Life 2. Does this mean that there is one leftover HEV suit flying around in stasis? Was it brought to Kleiner by the G-Man, as that was the only way to make Gordon keep it? Or was it simply a retcon? We'll probably never know. Breather.mdl, an unknown, unused device that was probably planned to be seen in Zen called the Breather. It does look pretty interesting. Building 3.rmf. RMF are the source files of Half-Life 1 maps. Building 3.rmf is a map featuring a large building, one that is never seen used in Half-Life 1 or any expansion, most likely a cut remnant of some chapter. BoldChicken360.avi. This refers to this video, seemingly a test video showcasing the Bold Squid, made by Valve/Sierra in 1997. C2A5G landing field. Now I'm not 100% sure here, but I think this is referring to that one image seen as a preview in the graphics settings, which was later remade by Escalation. It's a cut part of a cut map we have not yet found. C2A5G was remade in the last second. As the landing field image was included in the graphics settings, it is likely that the map looked that way really late into development, but this isn't known for sure. Cut timeline feature. There is a cut timeline property in Half-Life 1's level editor, theorized to be used for the Moss and alien breeding settings, or time-based settings in general. This isn't known for sure though and could possibly imply something else. In the final game, this setting does nothing. Gordon has no free will. Gordon is only allowed to do a certain number of things. If he goes off path too much, he'll fail. He needs to follow a certain path or otherwise will be punished. He still does these things on his own behalf, but simply because he has no other choice. The only way I see Gordon having no actual free will is if the Vortigons are actually aware in lore that Gordon is being controlled by someone else, thus confirming that Gordon has no free will, but only the player controlling him. Cut alien grunt weapons. Before landing on the Hive End, there were plans for different types of weapons for the alien grunt. This includes the Spore missile launcher, the alien organic chainsaw and the black hole gun. This concept art is found in the Raising the Bar book. The art was made by Chuck Jones. Cut glowing textures. Half-Life 1 was at one point to include glowing textures. There's a way to get them to work, though not particularly useful really unless you're a Half-Life modder yourself, which even then you would require all the players to do the same, I think. Even earlier Alien Slave. We saw this image before. And here's an even earlier version. This wasn't meant to be seen in game at any point. This is just some rendering test thing. Flash grenade. At one point, flash grenades were to appear in Half-Life 1, which could temporarily blind opponents. It's also seen on the belt of male Black Ops assassins in opposing force, though never used. The Vortigons are actually the enemy. They were enslaved in Half-Life 1 and only because of that were they hostile. They otherwise seem like pretty friendly creatures. Perhaps we are yet to learn their true evil intent. But I doubt so personally. There's not even a hint of them being evil to be found anywhere. Food fight in the cafeteria. Early in the game's development, there was the idea for a food fight to occur in the cafeteria of Sector D, though this idea was eventually rejected. How this would have went down is unknown. Grunt camouflage variants. The HCCU grunts are somewhat camouflaged anyways. Another variant of theirs existing that was planned to be more camouflaged is unknown. Though then again, if they were really well camouflaged, you wouldn't be able to see them anyway, so who knows if this exists. Half-Life audio script. In 1999, Mark Laidlaw wrote a script of all the spoken dialogue in Half-Life 1. It seems to have been planned for some kind of subtitle system, which we never got in Half-Life 1, only in Half-Life Source. One interesting detail about the script being that the G-Man is referred to as Administrator. Possible early robot grunt model, referring to this image, which seems to be an early version of the robot grunt model. It looks a little less blocky and more human-like, actually not too far off from a Combine soldier from the chest up. Testify. This is referring to this image, seen a couple of times in Easter eggs of Half-Life Blue Shift and Opposing Force. The image shows the developer Rob Hieronymus, 3-Wave CTF, a cancelled official mod for Deathmatch Classic, originally leaked alongside many Valve files in 2003. The gameplay of this is basically the same as regular Deathmatch Classic CTF, aside from collectible rune abilities and grappling hooks for quick navigation of difficult areas. The runes include regeneration, resistance, strength and haste. And if you know your stuff, you might notice that it sounds exactly like the Manpower game mode from Team Fortress 2. Why this was cut from Deathmatch Classic is unknown. The Grand Unification Theory. This is a theory aiming to combine all Valve games into one singular timeline. This theory says that GLaDOS was secretly stabilizing the Black Mesa experiments to prevent a resonance cascade. After she was killed by Shell, Gordon Freeman did his thing. The 7-hour war happens, and in the bombardments, Aperture Labs is partially destroyed. In one of the clipboards on a desk in Breen's office at the end of Half-Life 2, you find a coded message which reads, "Lunar anomaly detected," which indicates that Shell has recently put a portal on the moon. This means that Portal 2 probably occurred in the period between Gordon Freeman and Alex Vance's disappearance into the Combine teleporter Nova Prospect. At the end of Portal 2, Shell is in a wheat field, possibly putting her near White Forest. And as things rarely go as planned for Gordon, the chopper probably won't make it to the Borealis and will maybe go down in that wheat field, which will cause Shell to join in on the adventure to the Borealis. This theory also foresees that Half-Life 3 will be co-op in the Cluta-GLaDOS battle. Team Fortress and Counter-Strike are also fit in. The terrorist attacks are staged/instigated by the Combine agents to cause chaos in Earth's defense. The CTs are bankrolled by Black Mesa and Aperture. Team Fortress Industries is controlled/manipulated/invested in by Black Mesa and Aperture, red and blue. Doto, however, is not even attempted to get fit into the lore. This theory is easily debunked. The Aperture Labs are in the USA. The wheat field does not near Episode 2's White Forest. Though to be fair, teleportation could have occurred to Eastern Europe at some point. Also, the clipboard in Breen's office does not seem to be real. This theory is also about 8 years old. Shout out to whoever made this theory anyways. The account has sadly been deleted. Unknown Mecha Dude. This refers to this image, which is most likely another unused CIA enemy. Used antidote. When you get attacked by a poison headcrab in Half-Life 2, an antidote gets administered. The suit seems to have an infinite amount of these. These will help you regenerate your health after being poisoned. Prospero is real in the Half-Life universe. If Prospero is real, that would mean that the Half-Life universe is just one of many in the giant library of Aleph. I don't see this being too implausible actually. We should wait what Neon Prime has to say about this. Valvevisit.avi. This refers to a mysterious clip that is still being looked for. There are 3 known screenshots of this video. If any of you have any leads, that would be great. White Shirt Grunt. An unused human grunt model. It's missing the black armor, thus making him clothed fully white. Every copy of Half-Life is personalized. This has turned into somewhat of a meme. I'm unsure where exactly this myth started. It isn't limited to Half-Life though. This theory suggests that every single copy of Half-Life is different in a way that couldn't be replicated on other copies, mostly used as a basis to write like a creepypasta or similar. This doesn't seem to be true. Half-Life Source 2. We have the notoriously bad port of Half-Life 1 for Source. What if it was ported to Source 2? I must say I would appreciate it as an April Fool's joke by Valve, but otherwise, probably not something the community or Valve has much interest in. Cut Kleiner Death. Besides one singular Cut Barney line, there isn't anything indicating that this was actually planned to happen in the beta. Some beta maps do include Kleiner dying, but it's always him just exploding out of nowhere basically.
Hetty! Holy crap! Dr. Kleiner! Ah, Doc, you poor sap.
There wasn't an actual planned Death Force character for any considerable amount of time from all we know. Level 8, The Void. We've reached the bottom, and there are only 3 total entries here. These are the most corrupted entries. Gordon talks in Half-Life 3. Gordon is known for not talking a lot. Him talking in Half-Life 3 will be quite a plot twist. Also probably a decision not met with much appreciation by fans, which is why this most likely won't happen. The Combine are real. If there truly is an infinite multiverse, this would mean that there is at least one where they are real. The question is if they actually attack other universes, and if so, is there a multiverse for the multiverse, in which then some exist where inter-universal travel is possible and ones where it isn't? This is way too big of a problem for my brain to handle, but yeah, from all we know now, the Combine aren't real. Half-Life 3. What would Half-Life 3 look like? What could it possibly be about? What revolutionary technology would it include that warrants it being made? Without a time machine, this isn't answerable. If we do get to see it in our lifetime, the game would most likely include a shift as dramatic as the one between Half-Life 1 and Half-Life 2, essentially starting a new era. Perhaps some characters will be returning, perhaps some themes will be returning, but it won't look anything like Half-Life 2 did. And to note, this is talking about Half-Life 3, not Episode 3. This was the entire Iceberg, and again, a huge shout out to Enlisted for sponsoring this video. It's genuinely a great game and a must play for every fan of FPS games, which I know you are. So what are you waiting for? Be sure to download it for free using my link to receive the exclusive free bonus. By doing so, you're not only supporting the channel, but also doing yourself a huge favor. Trust me, you won't regret it. If you've somehow made it here, you're a legend. Let me know what you thought of this video. Also consider joining the Discord. If you guys like this video, I might cover a few more icebergs in the future. I probably won't do a this long video again for a while now. So yeah, if you've made it this far, thank you so much. And otherwise, thank you for watching.